Sadíme, ahoj Mary, zdravím z práce, ty jsi v práci na fonu, ahoj. Tam se dobře, co ty? Čus Mesner, tam to zaprvé vidíte, bum. A jdu doleva.
You think Navi changed their comp? Changes their comp every week. But they won. Yeah, but so they all still change their comp when they win. They do this all the time.
Máš přestávku, já do kolika si ve worku?
I'm not sure, especially after yesterday, you know, I don't know. I mean, who knows what they've been talking about overnight and what they have to
do. SLEDUJ. Drž hubu.
Well, actually, even on the other side of the stage today, a team that's bought into the harbour so heavily throughout stage one, or at least initially this year, then Navi the ones to pull something out of the bag here?
It does disrupt, I guess, the little prep time at least KC would have, because they obviously didn't know who they were going to play until after the Navi game. And speaking of that, I believe Zaysh has shaved his hair off, so he's donning the bold buff coming into this.
You said he looked like me earlier.
They need every follicle, I guess, to help them.
I think it's the stress. He's probably started.
It's the stress.
The hair started before he just committed, I think.
No, I reckon
KC it's taken a while for Zaysh actually.
Yeah, I reckon they need the buff. I think he's kind of like, I would dedicate my entire life to this, so to make sure we get through today. It is going to be a very, very important game, of course. But let's talk about this Icebox. Why are KC so good here?
Why are they so good?
Yeah.
I think Martin on the Omen specifically has been farming every single time.
Čus, Extrix.
Yeah, this has been a conversation topic again. Teams kind of flexing onto it, allowing duelists to really kind of play around with expectations of, you know,
Tak na to sázky, sázejte.
Well, actually, only switch up's going to be Aves actually coming onto the Tejo. So still going to see Martin on there. Like I said, I mean, we were talking about this the other day. Actually, it really depends who's playing the Omen. I think Martin's one of the.
I think that's a mistake. I think that's the same.
Oh, is it the same? Oh, maybe. Anyway, regardless, Martin, I think, has been one of the good examples to say you kind of give him some freedom to play it how he sees fit, and he's really found comfort there.
Yeah, I do think the Omen is becoming like that meta on Icebox right now. I think there are ways to deal with it, but it seems like both of the duelists in these teams are very comfortable with it, so it should be a good head-to-head. But I would favor KC.
Oh, it's going to be a fantastic series. So we need some fantastic
To za mě KCW.
to take us through this. Haza and Cairo, take it away.
Thank you so much, Sue and the Death.
Yeah,
it's
there's
a
a stand.
rematch from both of these teams.
Jasný, there's a stay týpek a
this
můj
time it's for elimination. Navi trying to chase the shadow of their former selves, whereas KC looking to break that narrative of those early playoff struggles.
Yeah, 100%, and I think as well as revenge, right, for Angel and Shao against their old teammate of Sugetsu.
I love this.
So whether they can get that revenge or not,
Sázejte
it's going to be
Morátek,
something entirely to look at. But as for Icebox, both teams have been impressing, right, with this composition. No duelist. I'm excited to see what both teams
Tako není chance, kámo, to není chance.
Double controller on both sides, but we start in KC's backyard, Icebox, the map where they picked up from last time. Of course, the context of that previous defeat to Liquid is important, but the one thing that stood out to me is the fact that you can have that series
Jako
reset,
KC, doufám, že 2-0. Jinak to je nenásledovnej. Kouknu tady KC versus Navi, čuskome. Tady KC versus Navi, pak půjdu off, mezi tím, co bude druhý zápas. Chci ještě něco zařídit, udělat a potom se vrátím večer, zase dáme NA.
Oh, like this towards mid. Martin aggressive and TP's behind. It's Sugetsu who gets the first. KC end up a man in head. Still Martin.
Poštěřek, ty prostě nechceš, abych tady bylo hezky příjemně u toho, takže já jsem si narovnat, chápeš? Můžeme toho zapomenout. Martin, ale jaký TP play? Oj! Pojď.
And defender spawn, at least they'll be able to stop the domination from the Omen. But KC took us to the goods.
Martin happy to overheat a little bit there. Closing on a milestone amount of kills. On the Omen, of course, as we know him to play the duelist, but I really like this early start from KC with Sadak. Now has the 0-point knife available again, collecting some of that early info. It's not going to spot Ruxic just yet, but as the snakebite flies over back of Yellow and the turret takes contact, Sadak might just swing this solo.
Same time though, you've still got many more tools to work with here. Avez having those salvos and every single player ready to swing on out. KC will get the first round of this series.
Such a strong start for KC to pick up on.
Jak se máte? Chat od 1 do 10.
On the attack side last time when they were playing Liquid on this map. You can already see SLEDUJ keeping everyone in check. As you say, this is a balancing act in every sense for both of these teams. Stability has been hard to come upon. In terms of this opening, Martin's just TP'd into the edge of his own smoke. It looked like it was blocking the window. He actually gets in front. That was really nice micro.
I think the thing is, though, is Navi should be aware of the possibilities, right? Like, they're the ones who have done something similar in the past with their aggressive Omen.
Martin momentálně má 10.
This is 5 of Navi's players
on vaří na něm. 6, 4,5, to málo endis. To jsem chytil 7,5, to je pecka.
Martin's ready, so is SLEDUJ. Coming round from the other side, and Navi come out the other end of it.
To je tam teď nevyklepali takhle klasíkama.
So KC have to clamber back through the garage. Elite on a ghost to get to the Guardian. Both regen shields. And look at that, Vandal in the hands of Ruxic Hero. There is support here for Navi. And Crossfire set up with the alarm bot for contact.
Only bit of utility that you'd really depend upon here is that paranoia to re-engage. 2 nanos, sure for delay, but mess around with that on Navi.
Sázejte, kdo je v chatu a nesadí, tak je pecky na chat race, no. A teď uvidíš Iceboxu Omena na splitu Jorua. A na Ascentu taky Jorua. Getsu možná zachrání KC. Stokes. Ten Balasako jsem se to vypl dneska nic, no. Dneska pro vás vyšlo nový video na YouTube, nový WhatsApp. A já jsem pro vás dostříhal nový video, který vyjde v pondělí. Pengrna. Není to montáž. Nemůžeš jít pryč přece, když vole tam mávají pro... On ho viděl, on ho viděl. Je jasný, že ho viděl. Ale Suigetsu na bojovku je na close. Zachránil situaci.
4 kills, but you can't help but feel that Navi misplayed a huge opportunity in that round.
And I think that's the key point coming out of it, right? They misplayed a chance when they were in an advantage. And I want to bring this back to yesterday, right? How many times did we see Navi get themselves into a position?
Tak zítra v sobotu, jelikož není v sobotu stream, tak vám zítra hodím video na Hero.
I'm sure that's not the last we were going to hear from Zysh there on the reaction.
Ale za to se pak koukneš i na YouTube, na celý, si ho pustíš se zvukem a dáš mi like a komentář na YouTube. Jak je ničej na bonusu, kam?
Yeah, one back at the very least. It's a 3-on-3 and Navi do have the slightly better weapons. That's discounting SLEDUJ, but his position in kitchen could be killer and the shots will land. That shout down. Advantage KC from this position. And looking at the defenders, they're split up and still worried about the captain.
SLEDUJ's doing so much here for KC, and now that those mollies, the utility, get so much more value here.
Suigetsu just sidestepping his own smoke. Navi playing with borrowed time. Suigetsu looking to close the net, and that's what he'll do. Transfer to make it a third. Karmine Corp moving on from troubled waters in their anti-eco. But with the bonus round, it just gets better.
Now they've destroyed KC's economy. This is really nice from Elite, by the way, to trade out through the orange position. And then SLEDUJ buying so much more time.
It's always been something he's been accredited to heavily as a caller, the ability to just change up the pacing on a dime. It's that mid hit there that you see. Again, Martin showing us the flexibility with the Omen.
To bude rychlovka 2-0 pro Casey jak blázen.
The de facto one on the other side, Koala Noob, of course, playing the same role. Double smokes, both sides.
I think the thing is, though, KC at the same time are starting to So KC, Navi are starting to test the waters here. You look at the Viper here. It's moved all the way up B long, Ruxic.
Já mu dávám tu ruku pod tím.
Just looking towards mid momentarily.
To zase spadne.
KC slow rolling up towards A, waiting for those toxins to drop.
Bit of utility for sustain. Koala does have the smoke.
Bezojko, nevím, sorry, by to za něco začali real. Jeden point rule nemá. Tatarák názor, měl se to.
Pull of the trigger and they're down while Ruxic has been highlighted on the flank.
Nás mě
Struggle to
nebaví.
see him getting too much value from this. Elite should have it under wraps, and there you have it. Ruxic eliminated. Full focus can be put on the site itself.
Yeah, KC have done so well here. Slow rolled their way through it, waiting for Navi to peek them, and just dealt with every opportunity that came their way.
It's threat mitigation, I think,
Yes.
which we're talking about here, and also the mid-rounding, something which is going to come up a lot during this series. The way that KC like to play is they take early space, they freeze, and then Navi, they're just waiting for the re-clear. You get it through the flank this time, but something that we'll have to continually keep tabs on. Because when you actually look at it and you take a step back at both of these in-game leaders, Sadak has never lost to Angel in his history. And the even funnier part about that is, he never played FPX.
Yeah.
Always found a
Asi
way
půjdu
to
spát a
dodge
uvidíme,
each
jestli
other
se
in
stavím
those
večer, jsem
brackets.
tady se příjemnou zavu. Helkábo, dobrou noc. A hned puštěnej myslím na pozadí, ať mám to Vieura. Jík. Vypený trill.
Also got to be looking at Martin
Dobrou noc, brácho,
going
ty se
towards
vyspí.
oh man, that flash was perfect. Ruxic trying to escape here and manages to keep us alive. Navi coming straight back into this one, but it's the players from mid that opens up the sight for KC.
Oh, Naves with one more. The extra details, the pit dropped in. Xiao still ahead of this and can interrupt. That's exactly what he does, and as the pit drops, he gets back to cover.
Koala now in position in towards Snowman.
Nice.
That long line of sight, that's exactly
Nice.
where you want the operator, but misses the first shot. KC have bought themselves a bit of space, but they've found Koala Noob at the same time. And now Elite has to try and find a safe space for this spike.
Another one of the differences in the comp is that plant security. KC usually have that affiliation with Harbor, but no Sage, no Gecko, nothing of the sort. You're forced to try and take
Peter,
that
what's
extra
up?
space. I like the idea for them to go for the switch up again in this fast B play. But as it now falls down to just Elite, a steady pair of hands who steered that BBL ship for most of last year, now on KC, and it's moments like this where you want to see something big from the youngster.
Has safe space here to plant the spike as well. Alarm bot and nanos to work with. Has to find an isolated duel onto at least one of the Navi players. Fast.
It's just the fight that he looks to toy with. Xiao does still have the wingman, and Koala does have a smoke, so Elite needs to be heads up with this.
Yeah, it's just straight up gunfights. Hasn't used any of the utility. Boss fight found, and Koala Noob will be able to get Navi's first round out on Icebox.
Dejte komentář na video a Game vás bude mít radši. Mnohem. Mnohem. Třeba pošlej kus nohy. Možná i palec.
Good to know that we're still on Icebox and not thinking about split just yet. That the KC momentum can be stopped. In terms of what Navi did well, just winning a couple of these key duels, and this is brilliant play from Xiao. One of the reasons why he was retained in this roster by Angel.
Well done.
It's just due to his consistency at the top level, consistently being able to play regardless of the role.
Just to give you a little statistic, Kaza, one for the folks at home. Martin is 1 kill off 1000.
O, Martin potřebuje 1 kill, by měl 1000.
Something that we were speaking about a little bit earlier, but we'll have to see how much impact that's going to have in the game at hand. In terms of this round, full by both teams. Ruxic already reinforcing A, and Op on Koala Noob on the other extremity. KC need to be diligent in how they look to manage this situation, and already with the turret broken in mid, that's where Navi's protocols start to get tested, and you can see Hero just repositioning himself towards Kitchen, actually. Oh, a little loose on the trigger finger there.
I mean, if Navi really want to clear out this Viper's pit, you have the lockdown on Elite. Killjoy Ultimate would do well to clear out that A side, and that's where the spike is.
He's still a bit timid here, utility invested, suppression on Ruxic, he'll be unperturbed by the situation, but walks into Danger, and Danger fires back. SLEDUJ with one, Hero here out in the open, and down the long hallway of Kitchen, it's a long road back to the A site for Navi.
KC find themselves a little pocket of domain to work within, but remember, it was only Martin that was seeing it. Aves activates at the right time.
This is getting a little bit chaotic now, and with Aves being able to pick that one up, control is restored, order maintained as far as KC are concerned. Still Aves coming in late, has the salvos if need be. The wingman can try and make things a little more difficult for the attack to try and digest. It does get the spike to half, but that's where Aves brings us back to reality. Angel dealt with. Last player sat in spawn, it's Xiao, and Aves has him caught. KC back to winning ways. That's number 5.
Clinical is the words that I would use, and I think right now, SLEDUJ is completely out-calling Angel. The defense are not dealing with these mid-lurks, and that's time and time again, 3 or 4 times, that Navi have found themselves a player or 2 down.
So we're immediately going to see a timeout come through from the Frenchman against his countryman's organization, I suppose, I don't know.
Yeah.
But both of these teams, of course, looking later down the line into the year, we know each of them rebuilding. Import of SLEDUJ, of course, now up against a regional veteran in the form of Angel. It must be said, the goal is champs, and that's what you're thinking about at the end of the line. But in terms of the game right now, the big takeaway from that is that Navi had a good setup, but KC just so slow and methodical, and having conditioned that mid-pressure you were talking about, it feels like they've got their finger on the pulse. They can always just change up how it is exactly they're approaching each and every lane. It's making life very difficult for Navi.
And I think as well, like the other thing about KC, and I love that you speak about the conditioning aspect of it, because the one round where Navi looked to actually approach mid and fight it, right? KC just sent it A, and they were slow to respond to that.
How Martin go?
Navi right now, on their pistol round, I would really like them to try and...
No, VÍCE ty EMEA, kámo, 1000. kill už.
There you have it.
Kdo u mě, jaj, to se vždycky přál?
1000 kills in VCT EMEA. A player only just joining since partnerships began, but great to see yet another face from challengers. Suddenly become one of the most feared players coming into this playoff stage, it must be said. He has had a good start to this map.
Well, I know, but though, it's come up time again, and this time he's trying to find a little gap in which to work with, and there's KC players here, and they've heard
oba spolu v jednom týmu. Si přeju.
KC, like they've managed to avoid this mid play that Navi have set up as well.
And I think that's exactly what you're doing in this round if you're KC, because you know of the threats that lie on this Navi side. As you've said many a time, Eco's not something that you're consistently looking at them potentially being able to post, but one off of a lockdown, a Thrash, Hero, Xiao, and Angel, of course, having the Armageddon available. There are 5 Navi players on the other side of Spawn, and they're happy to commit it here.
Yeah, they've sent it back in, and they're able to get one, but at the same time, Zugetsu has completely cleared up. I don't think a shorty will work at that range. But KC's rifles certainly do, and I think they're moving through this with ease at this point, Hazard. The only thing is, time is getting low, and that spike needs to go down.
It's the only remaining pressure in the round, as you say. 15 seconds, less time. Once that spike goes in, Angel, it's a hit and hope. And I have to say, coming out of the timeout, you weren't fully expecting those ults to be invested, but this is something that we saw yesterday as well against BBL when they called the pause. It was like a stun contact for an orbital strike. The fact they're so willing to invest such heavy pieces into these rounds where it's like just a couple of sheriffs, it does leave you scratching your head a little bit at what they think those win conditions are.
I'm blind, I'm flashed, I'm bolted, man.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. I just feel as if Navi are a bit too eager at the same time, right? Don't know, man. Like, I feel as if like it's ultimates that could be easily used in this round, and will they have a couple here to retake back into the A side is the weaker of the two. And there is only Ruxic here.
I'm also just looking at Sadak's null command, because one of the unique interactions with there being the KO in play is that KC do have a natural counter to this double layering of smokes. And sure, the first line of that defense will go down, the toxic screen removed. The question is, with the knife coming back up and all of this extra util in post, is how
boom.
KC want to try
Proč tam
and
takhle
play
jde
it?
sám,
Looks like
kámo,
our
to
team wants to
nepíknout
go
no
on
mé
the
s
offensive.
Gekem.
1000 and
Gekem,
counting
kámo.
as he
Nej,
adds
nebo
yet
nej.
another.
Je to Gecko, co má wingmana na defuse, flash a molíčko a ten Kaš tam to píkne sám na retake'u, abych mu taky loty bejtaj chilkem nebo kokem.
It's brilliant. Armageddon goes in, you've got a fragment there as well, and boom, lockdown evaporated. KC using the tools they had available, and Navi are going to call it quits. 14 even in a position here to potentially take a gun away. Does think better of it though. Gives Angel the time of day, but I have to say, it just feels like KC are one step ahead in how they're planning out these rounds.
A šunkou.
I even thought that
Dobrý jak smrt.
set up Martin to go and fight screens, but instead, I don't even need to risk a player, right? They just seem one or two, in fact, maybe even 3 steps ahead of what Navi want to do.
I mean, we talk about finding feet in playoffs. It doesn't matter how many steps KC are in front, and it's by 6 rounds now. Even just the fact that Aves was so close to getting that Armageddon, and then that's actually what they used to counter the lockdown.
Ahoj, ahoj Zojko.
Lots of thought being put into this. Another gun round coming up. Navi at the very least have been able to hang on to a lot of those weapons, including the operator. Koala is on the other side of the map. V getting a look in from KC.
Well, Ruxic lucky to escape with his life there, but we're back towards looking at mid, right? And Navi have dedicated here.
70 stream streak, extrém. Pečenko extra.
Say as well, looking at the comps for both, it also gets
Dual
wins it. And with that, it feels
like
this
to feeluje, no.
Navi defensive setup has almost completely collapsed. The B-long control taken early, that now getting re-cleared. Navi will know that there's nobody here right now.
Udělat továrko, proč dělat továrko?
Go ahead and take it right back.
Seeing the timing, Navi now look towards A, that's tail drone, pulling players across. And KC, slow roll once again. Just double checking mid, yeah, they're going to think that this is towards A, but unfortunately utility on B pulls them back.
KC have already bypassed this.
Good luck as fuck, já. Pak nevědět, jestli jsi to fixl.
All over from Koala, Navi pretty quick in how they're looking to retake.
Same time, look at that post plant utility. Molly on Sugetsu, Sadak. I mean, Elite's got some of his own, and Aves even has the salvos. This is going to be really hard for Navi to get through.
It's a kill already though from Angel. That softens things up massively. Martin missing, not a player yellow side. All of them backed up into main. Fragment out. It was the salvos as well that we saw. It's a bit of a cluster on site right now, but Angel is just sticking this all the way through, holding the line, and KC nowhere to be seen.
Nemůžou nic, tam ti přiletí Vanway prostě asi v prdele. A takhle Omena Viper je crazy, ty máš prostě Vanway nebo něco na sajtu nebo na A, a pak si házíš s Omenem Vanway, kam jenom potřebuješ.
Sure, Sugetsu gets the first here, but on top of that, there was further players to come through later in the post plan.
Je, on mysnul teleport, proto umřel.
KC could work with, rather than taking the jewels. I know Navi tried to go and look for them, but
nemáme kam dát, díky mi, ale zkus prodat, ne, bro. Je nějaký love. Někde.
Wallace still standing. The walk down mid. To frisk KC. No, oh, it's info again, but a quick trade. It's only Ruxic walking down long.
At the same time though, right? You get rid of the tail, that's clearing utility gone, and not
za půlku, abych to ještě nacenil. Už nejdou někde sehnat.
When we look at the post plant for KC.
Poslední možný lístky, kámo, takže vám je dám za double price, kdo chce.
Seems like both sides grouping up on A. KC already giving away.
Yes, oblíbený komentátor, I know.
It's hero off site. They've still got the thrash and a lot of those key pieces from the previous round.
Yeah, this retake should be pretty strong coming back in. Spike plant going to be successful here, but Navi are coming straight in. They're going to be quick here.
To zajímavé, sáp, to zelis.
On the site, Shao picking up his first, Angel right by his side, looking like another successful retake.
He was running. He was running, bro.
Bearing on down to his position, have their third, a second successive round for the first time in this half, as the defense continues to show signs of life.
Yeah, and I think as well, KC at the minute, maybe letting a chance slip to really extend their lead. I mean, 7-4, 7-5. That's not a bad half at all, and that's why we're going to see Eng and Zeich introduce themselves into this match for the first time.
Ahoj.
Nice, boys.
Tak si mám dojezenou.
Of the game. I think, you know, it's important to mention as well.
Kámo, koukni se na ten setup. Tahle kamerka, světýlko. A v té Číně, kámo, 3 setup boxy mířený na hráče. Tam je kamera, zrcadlovka, co na něj míří jak dement, víš co.
He likes to play with all the chips on his side of the felt, you know? When you are in that situation, you saw it a couple rounds ago,
where zrcadlovka za 30 000 na tebe míří, prostě za 50. 3 setup boxy na tebe mířejí. Takže si zde, to je dobrý, no. To jsem dělal vždycky taky, když jsem najednou měl full takže ale dám to, Varko, mrdám.
Forcing them to try and reclear, forcing them to commit pieces to the space, because the change that I've seen in the last couple now is that Navi are immediately getting bodies in place,
radši bych mezi sebou měl teda mezeru.
allowing KC to actually get the kind of setup that they want.
A měl úplně insane setup.
Does break out, it doesn't feel like, you know, the communication
Než se mohl
is there
hladit.
anymore.
Having similar comps, right? It really does come down to the game plan and the calling structure and what the game plan actually is from both teams right now. KC well
taky když jsem to, ne?
Looking to challenge with his operator. That's a fight to look towards.
Vedle mě seděl Lomba, myslím. A to si myslíte, že byla první věc, co jsme museli vyřešit, jakoby, když jsme šli jako hrát, když už jsme měli jako kompy setup a všechno, když jsme hrát, tak tam jsme sedli, tak co si myslíte, že já jsem se napravo už nikoho neměl, já jsem si úplně napravo. A co byla první věc, co jsme museli vyřešit? No clue. Museli jsme vymyslet, jestli si budeme dávat pěstí, nebo jestli si budeme nějak plácat, protože kámo, jakoby, ten moment, co bych tam něco klačnul, jak možná pěstí, by mě plácnul, tak to...
Six spotted the first of those players, but he'll be without the poison cloud to try and face it. Angel goes solo, Sadak taking the duel against the in-game leader on the other side, backtracking his footsteps, Shao into the utility dump party.
Ale jako kámo, to byl konec, až si řekl, že budeme dávat face bumpy. A pak jsme něco klačnul a on mě úplně vyfíloval, jo. On mě úplně pofíloval, protože já úplně klačnul a byl jako, že táží dám ruku a on ze spoda to a jsem jak plácnu. Takovou plácačku, co jsem mu dal. Já bootcampu jako bavil ten fyzický kontakt se dotýkat s klukama. Co dal? 1v3?
A triple kill on the site from the young star and a Red Bull clutch that carries on the Navi streak and the comeback.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. KC just so disconnected. I can understand the first right. You don't know where Hero's coming from. This is forgivable. Martin, though, I don't know what's happening here. And in the last, it's just so easily given to Hero.
It's incredibly frustrating for Zeich. Hero coming up with another massive clutch as he has been dependable in those situations so far. Certainly not the first 1v3 I've seen him pull off this stage.
It won't be the last either. Towards B we go.
Nechápu, jak prohrát za kolo.
Forward from KC. This has been a massive pain point for Navi. The entry goes to Sugetsu once again through that mid duel.
Exactly, and I'm glad you raise it because it's probably the third time in what, the last 4 rounds that we've seen that first pick come through mid. It's an absolute oasis for KC, but even though they've been picking up these kills, still doesn't feel like they're getting the most value from them.
Teď jsem dám zapnu rankery hezky. Já to udělám tak, že teďka kouknem tady ten zápas, jak to dopadne, snad vyhrou KC. A nice. Potom budou hrát Fnatic proti Food, to koukat nebudu, budu off, potřebuji se to zařídit a... To už nemáš fightit, bro. Potom se večer vrátím zase na NA Ranked. Uvidíme, potřebuji jeden win snad. Mohu dostat double ranked zase. Absolutely nothing. It's Martin with 3, and so KC do come up trumps before the end of the opening. Chcete na něco koukat? No. Taky jsem si je furt vyhrál, nevím si.
Very methodical, looking to manipulate it in their own way, and they know exactly what Navi's setup is and how to counteract it. An unbeaten streak so far for them here on Icebox. Does it continue? Find out after the break.
Miluji chrom, přál jsem se vám všechny hesla za ložky ready, loving it. Tam zmizel první vlastně, no však je furt v talonech, který se nikam nedostali. Teď prohráli proti DRX. A on je prostě, on má jakoby prostě shit tým, on si zaslouží jakoby, on by potřeboval nějaký international tým, jo, on by nechtěl, ne Thailand tým, kámo. Já první ho uvidím prostě v nějakém jakoby v Genji, kámo, v P1, jo. Něčem takovým, když už tady. Ale já bych radši viděl spíš v nějakém international týmu. Já si v tom videu, no. Až zjistíš kde, tak napiš komentář s časem. Tam jsem. Já bych ho dal třeba k Paperexu možná. Bylo zajímavý. A nebo tady k těm. Já bych ho dal tady k těm. Zkus to jsou taky docela hovna. Ale já bych ho dal tady k těm. Oni hrajou strašně jakoby fast-paced rychlovku prostě. Takže by mu ho mohlo bavit. Vyhovovat.
Last pistol on the defense. KC did a very good job at highlighting the flank, being super proactive on this defender's side, and already Heroes completely isolated under belt, but calling for backup. There's a brawl going down, and KC draw first blood. You see, it's a brawl. It's more like a beatdown. That flash is perfect, though. And the trade's in Navi's favor. Martin trying to escape, but he's lucky to do just that. Moving towards B though, and KC have a bit of a complication through Elite's alarm bot. Complete information void on A right now. Navi moving up on long. Steps soon to be heard by Elite. His utility helping dictate the pace of the flow through mid as Sugetsu has bought a rotation. But the spike is soon to go down and the spam's not landing. Molly to deny the wingman. Nah, he's got it. Yeah, just about. No problem for the wee man. Martin still has that paranoia though. That's the other thing to consider moving into this. And well, as for Navi, the utility is looking pretty barren. It's all about these gunfights, and Navi continue to win them through this round. Martin though still up and alive, and you know just how good he can be. More damage.
To potřeboval dát ten kill, Martin, to je škoda.
Having to clutch up another 1 versus 3, and both players are low. This is doable. Shao lucky to escape here.
To je škoda. Martin zabil tu KJ-ku, tak by to bylo crazy.
from that matchup in the upper bracket. So I'm looking now at can they build on from this. It was a nice 2v1 at the end, for old time's sake, from former teammates against Sugetsu.
That's why I'm not fighting, boys.
Happy to take a back seat.
And he's doing well, considering we saw that statistic yesterday about how he's improved his first death rate.
Not only that,
I když furt je to jakoby chill.
The younger members on the team. Sure, Hero had his rookie year last year, but even there,
Oni si vždycky někam takhle sednou, kámo, prostě ty Casey, vždycky.
just backtrack. Yeah, the comms there. Hero asking for the support, knowing that KC do like to get very active. This time though, it's a full rotation over towards A. 4 players to greet Navi, but that spike should go down first.
Yeah, I really like this response. There was 3 players towards the B side. Ruxik's called that, and well, the response from Navi is to immediately hit A. KC though, very quick on the mark. The timing nearly works out for Carmine Court, but at the same time, Navi have dealt with.
Mám se postaral, nestrašně, když lidi dávají praskání do songu a vždycky, no jako jak ne.
Not really much to fall back upon here if you're KC either. It's a well-played round from Navi as far as they're concerned.
And I think at this point, all the Sadak right now has been like, look guys, we're not going to win these duels, we're not going to win the post plant, so let's deny them the ultimate orbs, and I think it's the right call here.
Absolutely. Next sort of checkbox up on my list, my little Navi list right now, I think is how they're going to approach this bonus.
Oh, máš tě?
Hero
Orbíček.
Pistol, get one more on the way back out. It's going to help with the lockdown. As you can see, in terms of ults, they're actually built more towards that thrash. Still something to be thinking about. Not really seen the full.
Ale totiž potřeba být ADHD a musel tam skočit.
Yeah, well, this purchase looks like, because I think a couple of times yesterday on their bonuses, they were like forcing up really heavily when they'd lost players. In terms of the money here, I mean, it looks good.
Even better than it should be, guys. I got one.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're happy, right? Things are on track right now, and with this being a huge purchase for them, a swing round, because KC are massively going to struggle if they lose this.
100%. It's mid where we'll see this battle start. Elite, though, is the one who gets things off to
Pičo, ale.
KC's side.
Ano, 50 giga má, no.
Still an advantage in their favor.
Toho tak 2 hodiny. To je klid, ale ne. Martin, vypni ho, more. It's a goat.
No, how does he get out? How does Martin do that? An escape artist, Houdini on the A site. But Navi back into that situation felt like they were so separated at times. We do see it in these moments.
Taky nechápu, jak žije. Ale přežil. Tak zachránil.
They had 2 players reclearing. They had hero belt.
This is the frustrating part about Navi. Is like finding yourself in a position to
Dobrý, hraje bangry. První kol měl 3Kčko, pak měl nějaký killy a v tomhle zápase měl svůj 1000. kill na VCT EMEA. Takže už mám přes 1000 killů.
Another Turkish player to take on the 1 versus 3. Make that a 1 versus 4, as Martin is still somehow alive.
Ruxik needs to go looking for a pick, and it needs to be clean, right? The unfortunate thing is that drone has identified exactly where he is, so he's not going to have much of a chance here.
Not at all. Ruxik looking for a head in the shop window, can't find it. Martin denying any opportunity for them to build that momentum, and it's something that's happened a couple of times now, which is frustrating to look at. In terms of what KC did well here, just reading the situation. This is just ridiculous from Martin, and so unfortunate from the spray at the same time.
That's it, and I think
for thinks he's me, he's not, bro.
There can only be one. Yeah. Still though, a buy to come back into this. All hope is not lost. It was just a bonus round. We have to remember that. And it seems as if Navi want to hit this straight into A.
Chance to bring us within 1, but as you say, it's the age all going on. Dizzy in, players blinded in that AoE. So as it drops, Xiao's able to recover, and Navi gets so much space early round. Look at Ruxik walking up tube.
Pecho.
Close to the turret.
Kde až je ten Ruxik?
Still not spotted though. While he sits around in this position, KC will invest utility to try and clear. Hearing those steps. Backup is now arriving.
No, to je jasný, že nečekne. Čuhudi? Zdár, bráchodík, zarej. Sápek je. Jsem koukal, že tam jedeš Minecrafty?
I mean, the ball is in Navi's court. They're just going to slow the pace all the way down, force KC to make an investment, try and trade out.
Zase nějaká vole Minecraft speedrun RS2, jo, všichni speedrunujou. Jdeš pecky, doufám aspoň. Nikdy jsem kámo Minecraft nespeedrunoval. Nebo jo?
All three players though,
na streamu. A jo. Zapomněl. Já jsem měl ten hardcore, ale no. No. To top kombinuje jak Magor. To naučím a speedrun, jaký je tvůj nejlepší čas?
Have got a really tough problem here. Martin trying to use a smoke to get on to Spike, but Navi are so aware of what's going on.
A jak dlouho speedrunuješ ten Minecraft?
That just lends Navi the advantage, and as soon as they have note of those final few positions, playing off of each other really nicely. Performance is a word which we brought up quite a few times when referencing these teams. I think it counts for Navi just as much as it does KC.
Jestli si to hrál, abys dal to PR.
In terms of the extra coaching staff that they've relied upon to get them up to scratch, to bring them to previous M80 levels, if it's Koala or all the rest, just
kámo, do týdne bych ho měl, ne? Jak moc je těžký na 24:02, kámo. A tak já to chápu, dětku, ty to hraješ na content. Páně smrti tady, když jsi blízko tamhle to já to mrzí. To přinese klipy a klipy přinesou peníze.
There is a little bit more support on the B side of the map this time as well though, and the plant is yet to go through.
No text. To je duo Q rank 1, už 2 sezóny posud. Že jakožto český šrot bys to udělal hned, jo. Tam mi totiž FPS skill pomůže, no. From up top, dropping in the stun. Koala gets his though and gets out. 3 on 3, but the playing field. Musíš mít štěstí právě na seed, no. Právě bez toho to je úplně pointless. Martin, pojď. Sabrouza. Ne. Jako content mašina Sabrouza. Ale že není to už jako nejlepší player nebo tak. Dlouho ne. Myslím, že nehraje jako jo, no. Nice, Martin, top frag.
Double digits reached the big ground for Carmine Core to win out. Navi, when you think that they've found themselves away into the B site, away to get within touching distance of their opponents, just goes the other way. And now you start to look at the economy, you start to look at how the rest of this looks. Navi need to be careful because if they lose this, it could be a massive swing round. The good thing for them is they have plenty
během rozsvání jsem udělal to věcí, vytřel si pokoj, udělal si homemade hralky, povlekl si postel dick on. Jakmile nefunguje počítač, tak je z něj normálně domácí žena, ale jako je to stejný. Tam se content, tak domyslíš. No Sabrouza som. Jako Sabrouza je můj favorite, jakoby takhle na content, ale to sleduju, jakoby, to je jediný, kdo sleduju, jakoby. Jeho a Soma ještě koukám, no. Ale jen YouTube videa nekoukám teď si nevím. A koukám jenom lidi na skill, třeba Zekena koukám kvůli tomu, že je skillovej.
There's another. Gonna have to use the Thrash to do it. But at the same time, like, the utility and response from KC is perfect. So it's gonna come down to these gunfights.
And now Martin's on an aggressive line with the one-way smoke set up. You've got Alice here for contact. KC are perfectly in place, and Navi feel like they're out of options. Shower saving grace though.
That's massive. Rooksik just hanging on the edge. Koala though gets to
Martin, pojď mi. Zdraví.
Still Navi one ahead, and Sugetsu nowhere near to bail Martin out. He could use his ultimate to escape, but wants to stick around.
30 seconds left.
Wants to look for his next duel.
Já musím, měj se, dědo. Čau, čau. Ahoj. Mě Mura nebaví, na mě až moc klid farmí, jakoby, a je to až moc, jakoby, už moc na mě. Moc na síle. Ale americký Fero. Fero je, chce být hezký můda. To je, kdybych normálně řekl o Pepovi normálně ze Sparty, že a pak potkal Messiho a byl na Messiho, však Messi je takový český Pepa ze Sparty.
That can shut it down for Navi and keep them within touching distance. Just 2 rounds now separating the teams.
To je úplně legit, no. Proto pro mě jakoby taky nemá vůbec váhu ten člověk, víš co. Může vstav jako jo, no, real vlastně.
Only one ultimate was kept into the next round. That was Angels, and that was only because it never came up.
It's crazy how in so these rounds it looks like KC are so well set up defensively, and then all of a sudden it completely falls apart.
Martin dobře tahá.
There was an extra couple seconds there for Rooksik.
Yeah, at the same time, it was expensive for KC. They're down to Sheriffs, and now that's where we expect Navi to start to get those opponents.
Jako není špatný.
They're in that eco-cycle defense. It makes it so much harder.
Absolutely.
Prostě lepší radiant.
Another opportunity to tighten up that scoreline a little bit more. You take a step back and look at the veto. In terms of these maps, you go on to split, but I don't think last time out was a fair representation of what KC can do there. Last 3 series, they haven't banned it. It's been floated, and then Ascent. Last 3 series, that's been left open for Navi.
Crouch peek dostaneš.
1v1, Martin forced out. The drone to follow up and make sure that there's no one else hiding.
Pro gameplay jakoby. Na moodu, nekoukej pro gameplay. To je lepší, jo, to je goat, no.
Navi can go ahead and win this map. The series all of a sudden looks very different, but it's rounds like this.
Jestli koukáš kvůli gameplay skillu, tak se koukej třeba na Zekena. Chápeš, třeba na YouTube videa, nebo na Aspase. Kdo je ještě dobrý, kdo jako má takhle content. A gameplay.
It's little rounds like that for me, which have your heart in your mouth, honestly. But I think Navi did a brilliant job. They kept it simple, used the utility. That's one of the margins that you can really exploit when you're playing against the low buy. And it's a confidence builder as well, because this is now a 1-round game.
Neude jako je dobrý, no. Nevím úplně jak moc jako on má někdy úplně popov hry, někdy fakt úplně insane hry. Někdy úplně hovno. On hraje jakoby 3200 DPI a 0.3, on hraje prostě úplně píčovinu obrovskou, chápeš? Jak hrajou, tak to chápu. To chápu. Ale Ernesto Jogemu jako ty vole. Já nevím, no. Ten Heodej mi někdy smrdí. Chápu tu seňsku, on dřív měl ten Roaxel, že jo. Messi má furt. To měl jako slower. Takže jakoby... nevím.
Also, KC know about the late luck coming through kitchen from Rooksik. Oh, deals with the lead. This is now an even bigger problem from the French side.
No, it's Xiao in the corner though. 2 kills picked up from him. Martin forced to just bail from the situation as Navi found a way to tie this back up. KC came in with all of the tools and looked like they were happy to concede the A space. But then when push comes to shove, there was just nothing there.
It's the fact that they had the ultimates to come back.
Jeho aim coaching, X-Trix. Fajn, co tam má za ty Kovac playlisty.
They have no cash. It's another equal round. Sure, we're starting to head into the end of this path, but this map, I don't think you should feel too desperate using your ultimates. I think this is a good time out for Ing to try and refocus the French side.
Exactly, and it's another test of depth in terms of the strat book, what they want to pull out on the defender's side. It feels like, you know, at times on Icebox, it is a little bit reactive. You can't exactly invest and go aggro like you would be able to on other maps, not without decent protocols in place. But to go back to the prior round as well, and something we'd already been talking about a bit, I'm really impressed with how Koala is starting to gel into this Navi side and what his, you know, that component looks like.
Kámo, než mi to KC prohrajou.
But then also vocally as well.
Že Kovac má DLC, že anime pack, fakt jo.
Versions of this roster we've seen is completely different to a CNED or an Ardis, and I think we were even hearing Angel talk before about how he, you know, apologized to Koala, so reduced some of the mid-round calls that he was giving, helped win them really key rounds when they needed it in that Vitality series. So as everything is starting to mesh together, the question is, can they take it over the line on Icebox?
Something I would also thought from yesterday was just the amount of times that we never saw Navi actually go and take control of a series.
Počkej, a to kde jsi vzal? Od něj. To má za paywallou. Ty jsi to zaplatil, ty degešáku.
Already missed one bullet. This is a KC eco, but I feel like when we fly stats like that, you just know that there could be trouble. I mean, every single player on the defender's side is within striking distance of this.
At the same time, though, oh, there you go. That's the sheriff shots to get to. But you've also got to be careful of Martin's hero rifle.
Pošli mi na Discord. Já jim dělám review, jaký jsou.
This is also where KC want to play up close and personal. Full of Martin. Oh no. Should have been doing more.
Já pak zkusím schválně. Po streamu hodin třeba 5 minut oko a pak na začátku streamu, až půjdu než půjdu NA, tak na začátku streamu zahraju, tak můžeš půjdu dát. Tak něco řeknu. Ale tak to už má nějaký starý, ne? Řekni, že jsi měl aimcoaching, že máš playlisty a že chceš updated playlisty. Napiš mu normálně, že chceš updated playlisty. Pošli mi tyhle starý a pak zkus zjistit ty nový, protože to už má 100 pro update, že jo? Buď spy, nebo před do píči, řekni, že ne, že jsi měl coaching, že chceš updated. Napiš na ten jeho Discord. Že prostě to děláš dlouho, že jsi věrnej fanoušek, tady co tamhleto. Kdybys chtěl jakoby dostat ty updated. Myslím, že už jsi měl coaching koupenej.
I like the outlaw buy, but you know, it's always going to be one of those rounds where something crazy could happen. It was a decent start from KC, but even with players in place, not quite doing enough. Has he got Sadok fan in the audience? Very nice. Obrigado. Anyway, Navi now with a lead. Can KC rely on their captain yet again to bail them out of a bad situation? Something has to change.
Je, Marta.
To ne.
Sometimes si wave, nejde nic. A taky jen grip. Zmrt.
Ultimates to be used. It's Navi who pulled the trigger first on it. Same entry that we saw from Martin in the last.
Jaká paranoja.
Navi get the trades though. Still worried about catching a player potentially being deposited there. That was Hero.
Je úplně něco jiného. Aha. Jen pošli screenshot těch tasků, co v tom jsou. Ty naklikám.
At the same time trying to stall out using the thrash, but the Viper's pit has bought a little space in which to work with. Even the lockdown will buy more. Angel trying to reposition towards Snowman, decides against it.
I think from this position you can still sit outside the ult and spam if you're KC. It doesn't really commit.
Angel.
Yeah, Angel is still sitting pretty here. It's just a now gone, but Martin's gonna stick it all.
Martin to podržel, to je frajer. No ještě přes smoky, pojď. Aby se to nedalo šerovat, to si píš, že nebude, to nemáš jak, kámo, to nemáš jak. Vypože screenshot toho, co tam je za tásky a se nakoukám. Tásky musí být jakoby online, že jo, tásky to musí být udělat. Vypíš, že to jde. To nemáš jak jakoby dělat. Tak kdybych já ti dal playlist a řekl ti, máš v něm 6 shot, grid shot, víš co, micro shot, jo, tady ty 3, a dal jsem ti nějaký kód, a ten kód třeba přestal fungovat, že byly updaty nebo něco, ale ty pošleš prostě kámošovi jenom co tam hrají za tásky a on si jedna kliká, udělá si svůj playlist a má je. Že to není jak jakoby, no, si to pošéfit.
Get map point on your opponent's pick in this elimination series in the playoff bracket. Which I think it's important to remind
Kámo, neříkej mi, že tady to
have historically struggled to ensure the DNA of this team is not the same as what we've seen in years gone by.
Prostě chceš dobrý, co tady?
Changes made with the look in towards international events at the end of the year. But it does still feel like a deep run is required in this first stage if you are to reach your target at the end of the gauntlet. In this round, I mean, look, we saw big ults invested and they do just about get the return. It's that no command, the only one in play.
Vytošil by se domů vzal pramajstvom, no tak to nemá nikdo. Nemám kovák odhadu, no asi to nejde. Jdeš pátoček, nevím, jasný, no. To nemá, no, domluvený. Jo, Češi v hokeji se otočili, tak teď zabere Martin. Vůbec nesleduju hokej, takže vůbec nevím. Jako Martin tahá, jak vůbec jeho tým musí zabrat. As the rest of the pack is just cleaning up on B long and keeping the attention of KC, holding it. That drone is forced to re-clear it through Aves.
Get all the information that they need, so it should be easy to start to lean heavier on the A side. Will Navi begin to make inroads?
Yeah.
To that extent, KC are not fully sold on this situation. The knife goes into mid, that's a little bit of extra info, and now soRa seems to have the right idea about it. Third player.
Movement mastery a pak je movement mastery jakoby advance, jo, I see.
They've got utility to open this up, but that's very quickly removed with the ult.
Forfeiting the site to play from the outside. It's Elite that actually gets the kill, not Martin, as he tried to play aggressive. That Snow command is denying all the utility that Navi would want.
And advance.
Denying the players that they would want.
Nevidím,
jak tady.
Vidím jenom jedno advance, jenom movement mastery. Hezky, pojď, Sadak. 2v1.
Hero has to clutch up here. To even be within a chance, and with 10 seconds left, you would think it's going to be KC.
No tags, nejlepší.
And that's one of those rounds which does still feel repeatable for KC. Perhaps not the ultimate, but at the very least the read. It's a number of times now where we've seen them get into position but fail to execute from that game plan. So this does feel very gratifying from their perspective to win the duels. Hero keeps it close, but still too far out of his wheelhouse.
Relax, guys. Everyone relax, please, okay?
And I think that's the big thing, talking about emotions, relaxing here. That's what Sue was asking Sadak. How easy is it to control the emotions of your team?
Ten static reflex. Okay.
KC would have won the mid round last time out.
Koukám na týpka, co jezdí kamionem v Americe, v každém videu řekne, co bude dělat a pak vamos! Hey, díky Extrax, zkus vyřešit ty updated. Když jsi řešil, máš mě gifted.
Has the cross at least to make sure no one walks through, just doesn't know about kitchen though.
Navi are yet to really involve themselves here. They're still with this two-player pairing, both of the lurks. Solid on one bot, Brooksig and Hero starting to show themselves in Sui's direction.
Pome.
Backed all the way up.
5-5.
Still playing from yellow, but two players dragged over, and now it is open for the taking.
Angel Hero mají ultiny, to je v píči, to je docela... Tady se musí dát nějaký open, nebo ten Navi call. Ta Navi to hrajou strašně divně. playlisty, no. Ty měl koupený coaching. Jak to pořeš, máš mě sap? SK, oni dobře zpomalují.
So ready, the utility straight back in, but that lockdown will buy a little bit of delay for the attack.
It's absolute chaos as utility goes traded. So quickly keeping.
Teď mají na čase setupnout dobře, no.
Angel salvos is about as good as it gets. There's still flashes and stuns on KC's side to come back through.
Někoho zabije, určitě to je jasný, vole.
The leader of KC, or it will be overtime, and I think there's a nice little ribbon put on this by Navi. We are heading all the way.
Oh, I mean, KC had players in position. It was a tug of war, and that rope was splitting at the seams. I think, you know, it's the perfect demonstration of how much the synergy between the players on both sides has evolved as we've moved from that very first opening fixture of kickoff up until now, the elimination game in stage 1. Util sent both ways, Navi not left with all too much, but Xiao's positioning late is what wins it for them.
That's not the first time he's done that. No, found himself a little pocket, the smokes to support that, and KC just swing it dry. They had already used a little bit of utility trying to come in early. The lockdown denied that.
So on to the attack, KC go. An 8-4 half from them to kick things off, but Navi respond in kind. A little bit of pressure put on early towards this right-hand side. Spike posturing in the direction. It's classic Carmine Court. You're expecting them to go quiet and then re-hit in the latter stages of the round. But the question being, how much information can Navi collect in the meantime?
Poison's off.
Oh my god, the swing out from Ruxic.
Ještě, že jenom jednoho, vole, Ruxic vzal. A vzal Teja, to je v píči na ten potom. To je v píči na postplant pak, no.
Immediate suppression there to just stop this retake in its tracks. Tap of the plant from SLEDUJ, waiting for the reply, and here it comes.
Nice, Martin.
KC, one player to the good, still Spike
nice, SLEDUJ, vole. Pojď, Strejdo.
And the null command denies Hero his utility, so he has to depend upon his rifle, in which he has been hitting his shots and continues to do so. A similar position in which from before, KC, SLEDUJ, he's low.
Hero's heard the drop in as well, and SLEDUJ, as you say, on death's door, needs Sugetsu to trade off of him.
That's one flash in which he could set his Viper up.
Nádherný movement, kamaráde, od Hira. Jezbe mi. Nice, SLEDUJ. Insane straight up. Ty vole, Hero měl insane movement, kamaráde. Insane movement, skočit tam takhle no sound.
As the skipper has sent them onto another map point. I mean, in terms of the opening engagement, it was good. KC doing enough to dissuade that quick flood. And SLEDUJ really turning it on when needed, even getting the null command there to just...
It's okay, I carry you in overtime, guys. Poppin's online.
He was saying earlier that he had the youngsters now to just put him in the backpack, but he's the one in these big moments, these killer moments, that is showing up and showing out for KC as they go into a timeout and look towards him and the coach slot for answers.
On hraje to Omena jak duelistů, oni hrajou prostě akorát bez duelisty, jako bez kompu. Ani jeden tým má duelistu, když se podíváš. Nová meta na Iceboxu. Marty má strašně daleko tu klávesnici, když koukám jak sedí. Vidíš? Koukej jak sedí jakoby... Úplně jinak než kdokoliv, kámo. Úplně jinak. A strašně wide stance, ale že extrémně wide stance. Ale třeba Simple má taky jakoby wide stance. Simple taky hraje jakoby White, on jak All Simple, oni zase hrajou jakoby in těma rukama, že když objímáš strom, tak hraje většina hráčů, a i třeba Simple hraje. Hrotit to jo. A nejlepší hráči hrajou White. Hodně hráčů odloženou ruku, jo asi jo. Hodně dobrých hráčů hraje prostě jakoby ruce od sebe, jakoby White, ale dovnitř, protože je to příjemnější. Ale on nemá prostě jen White. Je, dovolil to nepřeseď.
Looking to carry the rest of his team through OT, but it's Aves that finds the next kill. And one by one, Navi drop. The spike is on the other side of the screen. Koala up top, but Aves knows it and nails the shot. Such a big kill.
How do you even get this
Ty vole.
back? It's really difficult, but that timing's insane.
Individual play from Ruxic, more coming up. A lead there, and now Hero once more. Can he find a way to do it yet again? The 19
nice trade.
It's Elite to best him. 14-12. And in overtime, KC have Icebox.
They do have Icebox. It's their own pick as well. So the next one off split, we look towards Navi to bounce back. But that was perhaps a little bit more labelled than it needed to be. We'll see if the next map is the same after this break.
Ramp I split.
I'm cooking them. But I rate this stupid guy like my bro.
What is this guy on Gecko doing? Why he picking? Guys, chill out. Don't get overexcited, please, guys. Don't scream and shit, okay? Let's be focused.
No. Listen to Papa.
Ty jak malej. Mini. Let's go Martin, čustál, on myslí než já. Šimíku to zase není. To zase brzdí. Otázky hned, kdo nevsadí, chce pegging. Kdo nevsadí, tak nechce. Protože v chatu každý chce určitě, takže jakoby. Kdo nevsadíte, tak nechcete pegging. Takže vsaďte si. Já jsem ve velikosti mokrace, já jsem změnil. Počkat, co? Prostě vsáď, bro. Já jsem tu na malou.
Red Bull gives you wings. I don't know where you've been sold, but I'd be insane not to play my role. Yeah, I know I can break a fall. This takes a low. If I can say one thing, just know that I got a hand and I can lend you. And it don't matter when, no, I'll protect you. Call on me, I'm here whenever. Those who played it in one, move father's best. Just know that I got a hand and I can lend you. And it don't matter when, no, I'll protect you.
you guys.
Nice. Bro, Koala thinks he's me. He's not, bro.
What an exciting way to kick off the lower bracket here at playoffs in VCT EMEA. I'm your host, Yingsu, and I'm back here with Mini and Hypok once again. This matchup, very interesting one. Head-to-head on Omen, on Icebox, you don't see it very often, but do you guys agree with Martin there? You know, Koala didn't do his best Martin cosplay?
I mean, I think Martin is the best Omen Icebox player we have in EMEA, so I would agree with him, but Koala wasn't bad, but I think Martin was just different gravy.
Yeah, I don't think this was heavily one-sided, but I think I mean, you look at the first half, well, even just kicking off with the pistol round, how active Martin was, particularly towards mid, which seems to be something that KC have built a game plan around on Icebox. And even in the rounds where, you know, they weren't there, it was Sugetsu to kind of pick up that slack. So, yeah, for me, Martin takes the head.
Yeah, I know it was a long time ago, but those early rounds, the momentum that Martin gave them with the pistol round, and then the bonus round too, it was just those nice TP plays in, and you know, it's not easy to TP in an Omen and pretend to be a duelist, so fair play to Martin.
Yeah, and the 35 clutches also helped, I think. He was always diffusing, always the last one there on that clutch. The stats are doing...
Well, maybe it's one more one-sided than that.
I think it's doing Koala a little bit dirty, because he did win some huge rounds to take them to OT in the end.
Yeah, but Martin had 270 ACS, so I'm going to have to...
Yeah, it was certainly
it
felt a little more flashy from Martin, which is, I guess, no surprise.
Yeah, I think Koala to me is the op agent player, and when their defense was so lackluster, it's going to be hard to get that economy rolling to do what Koala does best, which is...
Yeah, I asked you guys this while we were watching the game, but this is the best offer in EMEA.
Oh, yeah, I don't actually think there's much of a discussion with it. We were saying as well, there's not many other crutches right now, but Koala consistently picking it up and looking pretty deadly.
Yeah, when you said it, I was a bit surprised, but then thinking through it logically, I agree. I think he's the best.
Are they relying on it a little bit too much, do you think? Because when he doesn't have the op, it does look a little bit more shaky.
I don't know how you don't rely, like if they're good with it.
But you know what I mean? But you want to have more than one thing that you can rely on. What are the other things?
I agree, yeah, absolutely. But if they're not so good at the other thing, then they just have to lean into it. It's unfortunately
I think bigger picture-wise, we're probably unearthing some other issues within the Navi camp. But yeah, I mean, if they've got the opportunity to, I think they should be tapping into it whenever they can.
Well, I tell you what, though, Sui is going to be very happy about taking on map 1. You know, last time they played against each other, Sui, little bit emotional, you know, some gestures on stage, which I am all for. But he also has some very, very big rounds. You guys mentioned the early couple of rounds we saw from KC right out the gate. He was in the middle of all of that.
Yeah, he was. And I think as well, whenever you see Sugetsu even being vocal about anything, you know that it's kind of, there's a little fuel to the fire, right? So it's good to see him come online here at map 1, particularly with this matchup. Again, it's a player that across stage 1, I think we've been asking more of, or wanting to see more of, because he's one of those players that kind of, he can stand on his own 2 feet. And it's, you know, we always see him in these individual scenarios delivering. We haven't seen much of that.
Yeah, I think on the attack side, I think it's a very good VOD for any Viper lurker to watch. He had the experience to know when to go for those lurks and when not to, and when to group up. He didn't have, like, you know, a Martin level performance, but the maturity was there. His decision making was good.
Team game, you know, team game. But let's talk about the next map. Because if Navi do not win on Split, their season will be over. They will be missing out on the second Masters of the year. And after the group stage they've had, you know, taking down Vitality along the way, this will be a bit of a shock, right, Hypok, for them to go out this early?
I wouldn't say shock.
First team to be eliminated.
But, well, cool. That's a scheduling issue. But, yeah, I don't see it as. It wouldn't be a big shock, to be honest. I think honestly, coming in today, it would have been a bigger shock to see Navi come out and comfortably, you know, clear KC in the opening elimination game. I think to come back to the veto, this is where it kind of feels like we might actually see map 3. I mean, we talk about the dreaded week 5 KC loss to Liquid, but again, how much stock do we really take from the loss to Liquid? But
it depends who you ask.
Yeah, well, yeah, but reps-wise, I mean, Navi coming in for me, tongue-in-cheek here, but I'm saying favourites for map 2, to be honest with you.
I agree. I think that maybe I should have hit it more before the game, that I think it is a clear favorite KC Icebox, and then you know, Navi did a good job to get it that close, and I think this one's a clear favorite for Navi. You know, 13-0ing a team isn't the easiest thing to do in the world.
No, regardless of who, yeah.
It's been a while since we've seen them on Split, though, you know, since that 13-0. But I guess I asked you this question about Icebox with KC, so I'm just going to throw it back. Not like that. Throw it back in terms of the question. What makes Navi so strong on Split?
Their awkward defense is a problem for teams that don't have a good read on it. They have the double smokes and the VÍCE, and it's not a very common composition on that. So that it's a very defense-sided comp if you don't know how to play around it. I think Fnatic did a great job of understanding the weaknesses of the comp, whereas the other teams didn't. So it's down to KC, I think, whether they've done that homework coming in, expecting it.
Yeah, I think this one leans heavily in the prep region for KC. Again, I think coming into playoffs, it's that's something we top of show today. We said is almost a benefit for KC to come in, have the ability to obviously watch an extra game, but also really look at likely scenarios, who we're going to be playing game one coming out. I think this is probably the matchup you would feel KC are going to be anticipating, so they should come in here. If it's available in the veto and we're going to see it, then actually let's scrap the Liquid performance, erase that from our memories, and actually come in today with something that feels like you can have a set game plan to approach.
Yeah, and I just want to gas up Hero a little bit, because the one, I guess, shining star of Navi so far.
The diamond in the rough.
Yeah, the one player that's just been consistent in every situation, no matter what, as of late, has been Hero. And in that 13-0, he got 22 kills in 13 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the reason they managed a 13-0 GS.
Yes, I was talking about Sagetsu's looks, but Hero, to me, like, even when I coached him, he has a very good understanding of the timings and like when to do it. And I think Split is a perfect map, especially on that
Why'd
attack.
You kick him,
yeah.
I didn't. I wasn't in the team. I left.
No, you were there. After champs. You were there.
Bro, you keep throwing me under the bus for these changes. I left the team and they made their changes.
Would you have kept Hero if you stayed on Fnatic?
Honestly,
yeah.
I don't think so. No.
Oh, why not?
Why not? He's so good.
His lurking,
so
his lurking is very good. I said his lurking is very good. I think there's other aspects in his game that would need to be well-rounded out. I think in the context of Navi, he's clearly their best player right now. I think that he's phenomenal for this team.
Jak my? Wstajcie si všichni. Sásky.
To go to internationals and win. So it's a little bit.
You'd make a great politician. That's all I'll say.
Tech boss?
I think he'd be making rubbish.
But an answer like
that.
I didn't even grill him. I
could have just said I would have kept him. That would have been the politician.
Would have been the safe bet, right?
Yeah. That would be more politician-esque, just a lie. You know, I feel like that would have been better.
That's a tech boss.
Who I do want to see come online a little bit, because as you said, Hero being their best player right now, is Xiao. When have we ever seen a Navi where Xiao is not the best player? This has to be the first year.
Stage one.
But that's what I mean. That's how weird is that sentence?
Yeah, it is. But again, I think it comes back to a similar point we were making earlier as well, where there seems to be a little lack of direction or want, unified direction, because it feels like some rounds you watch and Angel and Xiao playing for Navi 2 years ago. And then you've got 3 other people in the lobby that are kind of like, okay, well, we want to do... I was saying during that, actually, looking back at stage 1, thank God Navi have Koala, because it would literally be like a funeral in comms some rounds. And, we're just not seeing what feels like a cohesive team working towards the same objective, be it game plan, be it round by round. It just feels a little weird, and I think actually Xiao falls victim to that.
No, máš V8, no má slinu, obou normálně run.
Convincing,
and it's like, at this point, I'm asking myself, is this to do with
the na tebe dokonce útočí se na.
Quote the Sova role, or is it just, time has passed a little bit and Xiao isn't the player that we once thought?
Well, let's take a look at Agent Select and see what Xiao's going to go with here. I mean, no changes on the side of Navi. Why would they? They look so good.
Yeah, exactly. I think that Navi changing here would be a very big surprise. On the KC side, changing up to the double duelist.
Double duelist.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Martin and Avaz. Avaz has played Raze on a couple of maps for KC, or at least the Ascent, I believe.
He has,
so I quite like this change from KC.
Well, yeah, I do like this as well. And actually, when you talk about the switch up as well to kind of overcome Hero on the VÍCE, actually you have 2 great gap closers, and the double duelist, we already know, we've talked about it on Split, how much success you can get.
Fanboyem ti nakládám.
Against Navi, so if they've taken some of Fnatic's game plan there, it should be a pretty good map for them.
Typical Mini, always wants to make it about Fnatic. Let's send it back to your casters and see if Navi can take us to a map 3.
It's a map 3 that we've been waiting for so many times, floated in the veto, but all focus on Split right now. That perfect map from them before. Partnership era, a 3-year wait since 2022, finally ticked off on with a flawless defensive half.
Od smeka, ten ti nakládá, no.
Something which KC can't go back.
Yeah, sorry, jsem vás bouchnul do mrtky.
Yeah, I think like the desk got it spot on in terms of this is a clear Navi favourite moving in towards this. Obviously, you can't take much away from the Team Liquid game, so I'm excited to see what improvements KC have made since that rescheduled match and what they have to like bring forward here, right?
Absolutely.
To je vietnamská nugeta. Já neměl s ním nugetu ze sapy.
Very low win rate, for Navi on their own map picks, but they're going to need one of them here.
Jáky ne.
Start off, it's 5 players outside.
Jeden chat.
SLEDUJ, the sole guardian of this site.
Yeah, not finding much from that. KC holding on towards mid, and with all that utility, SLEDUJ is trying to stick around here. Something in which to work with. The Haunt doesn't get much in terms of information, but Navi...
No nic, WKC, ať je to 2-0.
Yeah, it's sort of off towards the screen side, and so that's where they're going to go. Navi funneling players towards the defensive half. But they've traded places because it's ramp that's re-cleared.
As Hero in the pocket, Xiao. He found one, but that's all it's going to be. As KC now start to get things underway. On towards the A site you look. You've got to think about Elite deposited towards Heaven to just catch out a late lock, but Navi are stopping KC and there's tracks! And we'll find that pistol round!
Another attacking pistol round won by Navi. Now looking back, if my math serves me correctly, that's 4 out of 4 for the last attacking pistol rounds that they've played, and on this map, great way to start it because as we mentioned previously, they only needed to win that last time. It was a mid push they went for, 5 players strong. Similar thing here, but it's A, and I love the plant spot. I love the awareness to be looking for Elite in Heaven there too.
Yeah, and I think for me, Navi bring out that iconic buy once again.
Ty Zojko, jaj, to nemůžeš. Jo, bojí fanbojovat.
Find a way to
Jak jenom zmizel?
Find a couple of those rifles and
Blup.
pick them up and work with it. There's 4 players sitting, 5 players in elbow.
Like badgers in a hole. RV Pest Control looking elsewhere. Oh, or are they?
Don't think so, mate. I think this is going to be beat.
And you could only hope, There is a world where they walk into that, but still, Navi, on a lot of these rounds, and as we said before, building towards that bonus, it's about keeping things clean. They have struggled massively from these positions so far. It has been
Vidíte, že kámo, oni ty na PCT koupí Vandal s malým armorem a vy si mají v rankedu, radši koupíte Stinger s velkým. A pak do bonusu jste v píši.
Okay, Navi are really back from decider to decider against Apex. That series you go into the Heretics game though, and it's a quick reset. Back to Vitality, BBL, reset again.
Ale mají ruce, vy taky. Máte stejný ruce jako enemáci, protože máte stejný rank, chápeš? To je pohoda.
Veterans that have done it many times before, but
zase lidi proti nim mají ruce, káma, ukliká jak šéf.
In terms of what the heights that they actually reach, it's always one step too far for them.
And look, this elimination game important to just show that they can endure those trials and tribulations as KC have moved that train of players into the corner. Against the Pistols, they are going to win a couple of fights back, but you look at Navi's current buy, those purchases which they will be able to keep as all of KC go down. It's 3
ale jen na defendu, na ataku si šerif nekupuješ.
And this is where we look at Navi, right? Because this is a few times now on the bonus round where they've come in with a fantastic buy, but they've never been able to back up the promise of that, right? Something similar to what we're talking about with the actual org in the team. They need to be able to try and pose real problems, do real damage. They weren't able to do it yesterday, not necessarily in the first map.
Počkej, nečekám, běžím.
On map number 2.
Split their selection, starting on the attack. But it's KC that want to make the first move of this rifle round. Navi anticipating it. Crossfire placed.
Šerif na ataku, jak go ty super pistolky. Jo, víte co? Kupujte si všichni šerif na ataku, abych vás všechny mohl farmit. Prosím, prosím. Jakmile prohrajete pistolky, tak si kupte prostě šerif. Nic víc a buďte dobrý. A já vás farmím. Miluju. Please do it. Tak šílený aim den. Tak easy. Tak ti úplně k ničemu, no.
Without help in this position though, the in-game leader.
Taky ti ten aim dej úplně k ničemu, protože přijdeš, potkáš mě s outlowem a já ti rozjebu jak zmrt a potom půjdeš mít buy round, koupíš si vandal s malým armorem a já tě s vandalem s outlowem rozjebu jak zmrt a dostaneš přes píču 2krát. A prohrál jsi. Economy v píči, já mám 3-0 a ty si bez nákupu. Zase tě rozjebu outlowem, už 3. kolo po sobě a pak si teprve koupíš velký armor. Po 4 kolách prohraných.
Nice mid-jaw from KC. They read the situation so well. Just felt like they had their finger on the pulse in terms of what to expect from Navi in that round.
Já mám tam ten lepší, OK, beru. Beru, že tam je šance, že můžu dostat one-tap. Ale taky radši beru to, že 9krát vyhraju to, že ten one-tap nedostanu a třeba jednou ho dostanu, no. Tak jsem jedno kolo prohrál a 9 jich vyhrál. Za mě je good trades. Ale jakoby já těch, že nerozumím borce, já byl jenom top 50 Radiant.
Looks as if they're read into this one too. 3 players on the A side for the defense. Navi have all 5 ready to hit it.
Já se nechávám do Radiantu každou sezónu jenom potahat. A jenom dělám, že tomu rozumím. Borci. Já tomu nerozumím.
Sustain on the Navi side, and it looks like they just want to dive straight in to this push as well. Avis to receive them. The wall is a little too tight for him to play around.
And KC have done brilliantly to stall out Navi. I mean, they're trying to look
towards já se nechávám jenom tahat do Radiantu, jakmile prostě moji tahači nehrajou, tak nehrajou taky, radši hrajou NA, že jo, a nehrajou radši, nebo hrajou prostě na smurfech a bez svých tahačů nehrajou. Jinak jakoby v klidu. Ale budu vám dělat, že tomu rozumím, že jo, takže jakoby kupujte si, jak uznáte. To dobře hraje Gaver místo tebe, je to tak, no já jsem tady jenom v obličeji.
And so Hero's job here is to just clear out all of that space and make sure there isn't an oncoming flank, that the rest of Navi can group up with some comfort and take the A site.
I mean, Navi don't really have money to go hunting either for these last 2 remaining rifles on KC, and I think the defense will be happy to try and save them out and have something to work with in the next round.
No vidíš, ty nehraješ na Radiantu, ty hraješ proti Ascendantům, který jsou free, ale hraješ jako Ascendant. Protože já jsem Radiant a na Ascendantu bych to udělal stejně jako na Radiantu, koupil se Outlaw. A kdybych prohrál pistolky, tak si na ataku nic nekoupím, stejně jako bych to udělal na Radiantu, protože hraju jako Radiant. Ale vy jste v pohodě, borci, mějte svoje věci a jejte si podle sebe.
Back on this VÍCE, which at times we say it's a sentinel, but plays much like an initiator in the way that you have to be very acute with your utility usage. That Arc Rose is fantastic for mid-rounding, and you know, you look back at Hero's history on former teams. I remember all the way back in the Wild days, right?
Kámo, co jste děje, KC?
When he was on the Phoenix, look, let me cook. On the duelist with flashes, because you know, KO was not something that he felt comfortable with in his agent pool, right? In terms of how you look to try and be very specific with where that utility is invested. But I have to say, I'm very impressed as we get to the point.
Je moc klidnej, tenhle režbejt moc nefunguje, takže mléko je Do Pepsi je banger. Jako pozor, faul. Já jsem viděl nějaký video, kde to týpek chlastal někde v Japonsku, že tam to mají prej mega oblíbený, takhle sody s mlíkem. A prej to je dobrý a zkusil bych to, nevím. Proč se dá furt sázet, teď to ukončíme. Wow, já jsem Shaolinský, na mě nemůžeš, veď tam. Když tvůj sen milujte, no. Tu si dáte Royal Crown kolu s mlékem hned, teď zkus. Ale Fau ti řekne, kolik poměr musí být. Mimo mít. Teda jsem měl nervy, já byl úplně v klidu. Sice zde sereš, ale pop tasty. Red Bull s mlíkem, zabil bych se. To mlíko je pík. Isko-follow. Můžu isko-follow? To je kámo, jak kdyby si chtěl řízek s hranolkama a ty se zeptal. Můžu i s rejží? Navi have the man advantage, but they don't have the space. I mean, you do still have Angel coming late ramp with this open plant, but there's no tower player. Vidíte to stejně jako hranolky. Ty se ani... Kámo, konec. Pepsi kofola.
So Navi had the open plant. They had Angel in main.
Příloha je příloha.
I think it was it Ruxic who TP'd up onto the platform.
Kolovej nápoj, přesně. Ale kofola není kolovej nápoj, kofola je kofola. Kdybych řekl Coca-Colu, tak půjde.
But Jules won as far as Navi are concerned, and it has pushed KC onto an eco here as well.
Yeah, and well, you look at Sugetsu to be the only one with a rifle trying to spam in B main, where there was plenty of bodies to hit.
Kofole to ptě, kofole banger. Točená kofola, kamaráde v létě.
Set up with this very deep wall, of which I know Mitch is a massive fan. As they group up through market. Just starting to investigate mid now late on. KC have put player numbers here multiple times. This is one of the first where they show us a more passive style.
Yeah, and at the same time, Martin's getting a load of information just sitting in A main. Doesn't have anyone to fill that space in heaven though. That's the only thing to worry
Abych si
about.
točenou zmrzlinu, ty vole. Jako dobrou vanilku nebo stračatelu, more. Odletěl bych.
KC know it. Feel that something's in the water. From tower, Koala goes, supported by the long TP backside, making the cross, connecting with it, and the transfer as well.
Tak protože to je free, se k tomu dostaneš a dá ti dostavit.
Just feel like they have players in the right position, but in this round it's the guns and it's Shao that shuts it all down.
Moulí zmrzlina.
Cosmic divide now up. You're wanting Angel to try
Zmrdlina.
and pick or at least get caught out.
Zmrdlina.
He is going to get that. So the Nightfall is well being kept for the next round.
Kámo, co se tu děje? KC v píči. Jo, to víc zmrt. Kámo, ten má teďka ráno, ty tam mají teď 7 ráno nebo kolik, ten ti neodpoví ani píču. Nebo 9 nebo kolik, chápeš? To si počkej jak týden. Je to Navi mapa, ale já jsem chtěl 2-0, jít do píče.
Speaking in the third person, and Navi playing like they're sat in the audience right now, I think, in terms of how they've approached a lot of these rounds. Even if it has been the site where KC is set up, it just does feel like they're winning the duels convincingly. We haven't seen all too much to get excited about from the defense so far, but that's where the ults start to come up, and this timeout has that much more importance placed on it.
In terms of what KC have been doing though on the defense, like how do you change that up? What do you do differently? It feels as if like when it comes to some of these retakes, Navi are so well prepared and what they need to do to stop Carmine Core coming back in.
Also, you know, just even the mid info as well.
Komu vandíme? KC. Spawne, tam zrovna dneska hraješ. Jaké bro? Stavil při timeoutu si stavil pozdravit dík. Dík, kdyby šel Elite out a mini místo něj. To bylo goal. To bylo insane. Real. Real.
1000 kill landmark hit.
Angel má 1000 killů ve VCT EMEA.
That has gotten himself there. Round of applause.
Finally, the big man gets it, and Navi looks as if they're going to be able to get this A site for pretty much free as they set Koala up. Sadak, though, trying to find a little spot in which he can try and keep himself alive. Koala catches a Vez, and there's more players there to fight.
It's just Sadak looking like him from elbow, crunch in from...
Kámo, oni dostávají úplně z farme, no.
But Navi just know all too well. Spike comes down. Elite into the retake, gets his first 1v1 and takes Angel out of play.
Porazil, jo. Hraješ na splitu, Jet, Reyna.
Could get a little bit worrying. You still have the Astra util up, 4 stars on show.
And all the extra utility, but Elite wants in. What a statement this is. Viper's pit dropped, still not spotted.
No, na EU pak budu hrát race, ale jak není chance.
Gravity well, the expected response, still no stun, still no challenge. Navi should be looking to take this on one player at a time, just means that they can buy themselves.
On ví, že musí dát půlku, no. Jin se šel na pignu, to nejde, já jsem to zkoušel, to je impossible. I Magne.
That is round number 6 and some serious security about this attack side now.
Yeah, they've done really well to get the advantage that they've got. Not only that, this round, I don't know what happens, a bit of chaos and...
To je nový druh manga, nebo je manga latinský favorite.
Moving towards heaven, but Shao does well to get rid of that. Now for the next one, we're back to another swing round. KC, well, if they lose this, back to an equal roll. They've got the showstopper to use though.
Just feels like such a telegraphed play though, Cairo. So Casey wait a moment before they pull the trigger and it will go off with a bang. Avis has 2, but he might need more. Gets his third, can't get out. Rooksik with 2 bullets in the Outlaw finds 2 kills. And control of the spike back on the Navi side.
To je debil. To je nový Vandal sypeno. Teď kolik dáte novýmu Vandalu, od 1 do 10.
Casey playing the mid round nicely though. They've regrouped.
Za mě třeba dobrá osmička.
Now starting to walk back down mid and have a look in. Hero's wall is missing from sewers, and with this information, they know there is the possibility to commit to making this a double flank. For Navi, you're wondering how much extra real estate they're willing to take in this situation.
It's not only that though, there's plenty of time to play with if you're on the attack, and the timing here is absolutely insane.
Yeah, Navi are taking a lot of it to get onto the site. They don't have enough to play around with.
I've not thought about this at all.
Absolutely, and it's Elite and Sugetsu right behind as the spike looks to drop in. It's the player instead. Angel another up against Elite. First bit of damage goes his way.
Still has utility.
The captain to clutch it.
Basic Vandala zvuky, ne? No. Elite byl jako neprohraju tady duel proti Angelovi.
I mean, at the same time though, Navi don't think about this flank whatsoever.
Vlastně mají to raketa, dal jsem s ním první deathmatch a hned jsem ho vyhrál. Vy nevíte, že když si koupíte nový skin a jdete deathmatch, tak vám to dá jakoby real AI boty proti vám, byste se cítili dobře, vyzkoušeli si ten skin, jako velkou šanci ho vyhrát, že to je super nákup, příště koupím zase nový.
To their sides. KC aren't out the woods yet with their economy either. Martin, players to fight.
Tak to jsem nevěděl. V pohodě. Skoro nikdo neví. Nice, Martin.
That's just ridiculous. And then right behind it, you've got Elite with the molly and the smoke, so no chance Navi to get back in here anytime soon. Prowler will clear a player 10 paces
joke, kdyby něco, to je joke.
Ahead of the curve, and that's where Angel will fail to clear him. It was a 5 versus 2, but Hero gets one back in the conversation. Again, though, these players are so split up from one another, and you're asking for heroics again.
Máte tam určitě nějaký procenta. Dobrý, jsem splitu hezky.
To fight Rooksik. Nearly gets a second.
It's just the one that he settles for, though. It looks to have paved the way for Hero on the A site. Haunt drops into heaven.
Ne, nedostal jsem proti své Zojka.
KC should really be expecting this second player though, and you can start to see the movements on the map suggesting it as well.
Hero's trying to look for something to work with.
You have to be in these situations. Does have both thorns.
Tu se řve, takže hokej, to je jasný, že už nějaký.
It's another situation, a clutch of which he is so capable. But will he be up to the task here to confirm that advantage on this attack half?
Would be a big round if he could do it.
Já bych to zapnul ty Torres a pušnul City.
Moments before we think towards the GX game where it took him a long time to have his first death. To come up in a 1 versus 3 here, you've also got to consider SLEDUJ has the Nightfall, which he will use, so Hero loses a lot of health. Decayed and decides to go for an ultimate. He fancies this as the players send it their way. The reaction's unreal!
Oh můj bože!
He had no sight, but he doesn't even need it! A Red Bull clutch to send Navi into an advantage in the second half!
That's absolutely disgusting from Hero, and he knows it. 7th secured, and it's a situation where you feel like KC have to take the time out. Actually, it's Navi that call it. Maybe for composure more than anything else.
Damn.
But we chalk the situation up to be exactly what it was. One that Hero was capable of winning. So many multi-frags on that standout display that we saw against GX that you mentioned there.
I think as well though, you say like maybe for composure, but there is still a lot of mistakes that Navi are making within the actual round itself. It was Heroics that won them that, and sure it breaks KC's by, but this is what I imagine we'll see from the coaching staff to come in and talk about, and just like make sure we're not putting paper over cracks.
Reakce?
Completely agree with what you're saying. You don't want to wash away that blood without sealing the wound.
Proč zní jak Mili?
Oh wow, no, tyjo, to jsem teda netušil.
Proč zní jak Mili?
Lidi zabij! Oh wow, no, tyjo, to jsem teda netušil.
Tak ten zní jak Mili, to je Milister prostě.
Make all the difference, and just looking back at it, I mean, there was no sound, so for Aves just trying to get the element of surprise. Oh my lord. Zai's just reminding us that he has had a trim as the hat comes flying off the head.
That is insane.
But that is a Red Bull clutch for the books, and now looking at the hefty bill that KC have been forced to foot here.
I have the spike.
It's just pistols.
Sigma man jenom, kámo, don't be childish, bro.
That's what you're looking towards, right?
Choice weaponry.
Martin has been the enigma many a time on Carmen Corin. I mean, SLEDUJ was talking about it. They need to know when to use the X factor, and well, in this position, they certainly need it as they go to take these fights in mid.
Last time it was 2 kills for Martin and a TP out, but on a round such as this, you're happy to get away with the goods. Anything that can just snowball the late round into something a bit more winnable, and he's even going to invest the ultimate.
Gets a rifle back in his hands though because he's using that dimensional drift.
Yeah, and the pass is the one that he had over to Sugetsu. So with every passing second, this defense continues to get stronger, and that's the story of the B site. A 4th player pulled over, Elite on the approach as Navi get ready to walk into this one like lambs to the slaughter.
That little gap as well, Sugetsu would have information to try and shoot through, but Koala's beating the smoke. And the gunfights,
ty vole.
Quick trade, still numbers with the defense. Angel does
tak to je insane timing.
Walking out 15 seconds, still no plan.
And the spike's down cold. How does Angel get that back?
Nice.
Unreal from Carmen Core
nice.
round. Sure, you can come up with a huge individual moment.
Ještě dneska je to dvojda bude hodička. Jo, aby to ty pak nekoukal.
The pay safe card Thrifty.
Now moving into the next.
Já, až dohrajou KC versus Navi, tak půjdu off. Potřebuji zařídit stav a pak se vrátím po tom druhém zápase plus minus nějak.
And that comes through it being a micro masterclass as well. Just the finer details, passing a weapon over, not, you know, blowing all the cash on a few different guns. This time it's the full, but it's Martin again! How does he do it? every round good for the one and still not down.
Trying to play up above once again.
Daj mi se Darko, přesně.
So no more Viper utility on the defense.
And that has been a mainstay through middle in terms of how KC could dictate the pace of play. Hero on another one of his signature lurks, and that's Sadak gone. As the captain is lost to the A site, it opens up completely for Navi.
There's also a cosmic divide for the post plant to even buy more delay.
20, no.
That's on top of what Hero has already thrown to the
Tak
deck.
nečekal do Hero už takhle close.
Thorns and the flash in front. Fake out from Martin to try and clear this early util, but the divide is up early, and Navi are ready to receive those players.
KC know that they can't get out of CT, so they're repositioning for Heaven as a way of getting out, but at the same time, Cosmic Divide is denying them any sort of line of sight here.
Learning the wick at both ends, but knowing that this is all the time that they've got left. The util's gone in and done its job. Martin trying to pave the way, hold the torch, but it goes dark. So get to the last player standing, long-serving member of Navi under Angel. But with Hero, the new boy on the block,
určitě tiket, přesně. Ale Ascent by měl být dobrý pro Sadaka Imo.
A lurk turned into a full sight hold. You thought Martin had done enough.
Yeah, this is an insane round from Hero, and I really like the post plant by Navi. And moving into this next round, again, we just have to highlight what's up in available. It's Hero Steel Guard, and it's come through his ability to find these picks. It's coming up time and time again. This will be a really big round if Navi can win it, because that would be a 9-3 half. Martin trying to be the one, the difference maker.
Je, on jak se chytil za hlavu, že má ten TP na piču místě.
So quick to take the A site. Elite's already got a sheriff. That's all we have. Doesn't matter.
No, 9-3, kámo, Curse to nebude, jo, ale...
Spike going in and look at Angel. Not Angel, sorry, it was Sadak on the other side. I thought we had some kind of a flank coming in, but no. It's all bodies as far as Navi is concerned.
To nepřísahej, to neděj. Ale já věřím KC, že vyhrajou Ascent.
Both players disconnected as well. How do you even get back into this one?
Short answer is no. Long answer is no, you don't. Koala with his third on the round. KC having to settle for just 3 from this defender's side. It doesn't even feel like they've hit the baseline. Navi, the ground running on their own map pick of Split. Can they carry that onwards?
Takhle si teď.
After this.
Jo, já jsem jako na ty playsy, no uvidíme. A oni teda vypadají, že jsou úplně jakoby krátký, že tam máš vole 3 tásky, na statik máš 3 tásky. Jeden je úplně stejný. Static Dynamic. To je full, to je takhle horizontál. Movement. Advance. Horizontál. Farm up. No mě to jasný, ale že jich tam nemá víc, víš, třeba 7, co by dělal, jako jasný, jsem retard. Jasný, že ho dělá několikrát. Extrix. Co jsi mi poslal? Soul? Hezky on dělá takhle videa? Může z Valorantu na videa, to je goat. Má nejvíc views. Ty. Dobrý, ne? A doporučil bych mu dávat názvy v češtině. Ty ten motor, na který je reklama vysílá, stojí $1100, ty Vážně, ne, to není, ale tak víš co, Slováci jakoby kliknou, ty jsou zvyklí číst všechno česky, chápeš, again prostě. Jo. Kteří jsou zvyklí, Slováci jsou zvyklí číst všude všechno česky na YouTube. A Češi nejsou zvyklí číst slovensky. E-gain prostě. Jakoby to byl můj tip.
Something to bring it back to what SLEDUJ was saying in that interview was
Parcel.
just have to focus on things round by round, and in a 9-3 deficit you would expect this is exactly.
Máš toho víc, ale tak ty kódy jsou divný, to je nějaký random bullshit, to nepotřebuju. Našeho díru.
They've got a vice wall to try and fight through. It's procced, and that Hero's got a chance. That was a right click.
And he was on top of the wall as well. It's not too often you see that played, but this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Game by game, his Vice looks to get better and better.
Angel, he's exploring an avenue in which you don't necessarily want to be in, and he's being hunted down at the same time.
There's a double tether there though, so has bought himself a little bit of space. Still no support. Angel, good for the first. Still, Navi are so slow to follow this up.
Yeah, and if they try and execute in towards A, those storms that are live, as you've just heard, will deny them entry. 30 seconds.
But I come back. Come back úplně nevím. Come back. Oni overthinkli, že je někdo kámo v TT, oni overthinkli, že je někdo za tou volou. Tak to je halus. Jako double duelist nátakuje, tam to má shinit, takže... Martin změnil crosshair, to je to v píči.
Out in the open, Martin felt like a sitting duck, but quickly he responds. Shao, the healthiest of the players left in the server.
Martin!
But it's Martin that makes manifest this KC attack side berth.
Yeah, I mean, that's both teams with two pistol rounds to their names, one on each map. And again, though, with that being said, getting this one over the line, going to be a great way to start.
To je strašně defend mapa na rankedu, jo. V pro play ani tolik ne. Záleží na tým kompu, jestli tvůj tým radši útočí nebo defendí a depends. Pro play je to úplně jiný.
Go no further with that conversation, but the point being is, as this one moves forwards, you're looking at it being double dive, right? Something which again SLEDUJ has shown affiliation towards, typically the Jet, but Martin's Yoru, iconic as it is. You're wondering how much utility can they stockpile when they get into these positions? How difficult can they make it for Navi to have successful retakes?
This time we'll see what we saw on Icebox in terms of denying orbs and taking it slow, so
Nestihl.
KC, this will be number 5, so we'll end up 4 rounds the difference between the two.
Right now, it's Elite, the player that should be looking to try and cause any problems. In fact, he's the only solo player towards ramp. The double up comes with the rifles, and with Sugetsu's name in the feed. That's a couple for him. KC still keeping this one clean. Time slowly ticking away. Martin now the one on the hunt as that ghost changes hands. Headshot trying to farm up some of these ult points, but Sugetsu's the one that is just a single point away from having his in the next.
Sugetsu's farmil echo.
From the shadows comes online, as do KC. That's 5 now, looking towards a very strong bonus round.
Yeah, can KC now show Navi how to convert a bonus round with their buy, because they have all 5 players on a rifle. Some nice shots all in, but
Sugetsu I Martin oba změnili crosshair.
Coming through from Navi. Still at the same time, Navi have been building up the same time some really nice ultimates and halfway towards Shao's Cosmic Divide.
Okay, oni hodně vyhráli bonusy.
It's the highest win rate in that metric. And it's a round like this when I'm looking at 4 Vandals, a Bulldog, and quite a few regen shields, in fact 4 of them. Big fans of the new kit.
Wow, Phantom. Phantomem prostě můžeš volkovat a když někoho vidíš, tak to prostě zmáčkneš a seš přesnej. To je to, co je nejvíc crazy. On kdyby trefil nade.
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't get the nade just doesn't hit as well as what it should.
And so for these early investments all KC made towards mid, they haven't really held on to the space. It's only Aves deposited here. Can't quite track Ruxy because you saw
dělá.
find that kill on
Ty se tam portíš a nekoukneš se okolo sebe.
And to the spectator screen now.
Zmatenej nebo vole? Je to debil. Zmatenej nebo to je debil?
KC back towards this side of the map, towards B, behind the standard lurk wall. They will go into vent. Hero just about in position to catch on to this, but does he expect Aves? The reason for the rotation. A deep clear, but he walks to the open, and that's the advantage for the attack side.
Yeah, that could be the deadly blow on the round. 15 seconds, plenty of space to get that spike down.
Ty vole, Ruxič má kámo ještě nejdík, ale on Valorant pogis.
They have utility in which to work with. Most importantly, Koala's nade.
Smoke setup as well are going to completely estrange the main players.
Počí si do něj, to je crazy.
Short of the mark, it's just to help cross into sight, and always the possibility of a player swinging back from outside it. Navi are slow in their movement to the side.
Yeah, but look at the crossfire, you can't really swing out into this.
Insane.
Someone's gonna have to soon though, surely not another full stick.
Dobrý. Ty vole, je to v píči. Oni to píkujou, ty Navi. Ještě, že to začne píkovat, God bless. On kdyby to jenom holdil a věřil prostě kámo s tím Omenem, tak to dle mýho prostě uholdí. Ty pičo, dobře. Vidíš? To koukám.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but they're letting another lead potentially go to the wayside this time in the round count. And you think for a minute that they're going to be able to get the defuse through as well.
I'm so stupid, I didn't.
I don't know what it is he didn't realize. Potentially the smoke's still in play.
Ne, se neklírnu. Je, au Martin, to bolí. Líbí se mi, že se koupil ten auto, když ještě jsou tam malý armory, ale ty vole, to zabolelo. Ta cinkla, no.
Threat in this round for me is Koala's Bucky, but yeah, solo A. Spike not yet committed, but Navi already showing they're willing to show face.
It's like, yeah, the threat is Koala's Bucky.
To trohnul, jasák. No viděl? On viděl, more. Neviděl. Fortnite. On jde dál s tou Bucky, tak ale si debil.
That's the safety from the Bucky. Away from striking distance. KC on the A site.
Kámo, někdy vole ty lidi, co jsou placený, nechápu. To je debil.
Such a long rotation for Angel though, so yeah, there's no real moves to be made right now.
Dostal úplně zničeno šerifama tohle.
But it's still all 4 players on site. If they can constrict them and stop them from getting out, 4 rifles could be lost here.
Shackled by the thorns, sent out by Hero, the tether on top and the reveal behind it. KC looking to win the round at the very least, but can you get out with the guns?
Ten Ruxič s tím šerifem tohle kolo, more.
Shao needs a couple more. He's not going to be able to win this, but in terms of damage control, I think Navi have made a bit of a dent here. KC up to 7, and that's the big talking point. Just 2 rounds in it. Still the defense yet to pick one up when they had a flawless defender's half last time they played this map.
And that's the big thing, right? And I wonder if that's what KC looked at in terms of their ante in towards this. If they were thinking about game plan management, right? Their defense side didn't look too good, but their attack even better.
No.
And one important statistic that
důležitý koala na VIPu. Kámo, kdykoliv bych viděl, že koala může mít VIPu, tak vím, že ho má, protože on je jak já prostě.
of how well the team is doing.
Ty mrtvej, bro.
Martin.
Viděl jsi tam s tím vypem, viděl jsi tam s tím vypem, kámo. Nádhera, Martin. Ale dobrý reveal. Od sedáka. Od sedáka, dobrý reveal. Je. Dobře, pecka.
Some of this potential utility will
include
it, but no fake out to remove it.
Yeah, remember.
Okay.
The dimensional drift doesn't have as long as what it used to be, so the nightfall comes in.
Jo, neklírne tady, boom. Martin ho má, nice.
And puts Navi at one player to the good, trying to use his own star to make a pocket.
Ne. Dobrý, ať overheatne.
But it's Koala who's in the next engagement and loses a chance now for a lead.
Pojď dosahovat dost těm opem, jo? Ne, dosahovat do.
And in terms of what he has to work with, he still pocketed that poison cloud. One off the pit.
Tak rychlost to jak zmrtnou. A jakoby, to be honest, jako Koala chce být jakože, znám jako ten VIP až tady, jo? Jakože prostě je fakt dobrý s VIPem. Jim to trounul Koala, no. A za mě je average, kámo, s ním. Average. Nepřijde mi jakoby nějak ebuff. Prostě Martin na VIPu je mimo stejnej, ne lepší. Thor jsem na VIPu 10krát lepší.
Navi doing well to dissuade, but I mean, Elite winning another clutch for as many as Navi built their empire on their own attack side with these 1vx's. That is such a backbreaking
to mě prostě average, já jsem čekal, že s tím VIPem bude fakt jako neskutečný, ale on prostě není. Mr. Averageovej prostě. To je protože si přijeli na víkend a teď vidět skařou pod oknem, já házej lokty hned.
However, they don't really have the ones that I think you could really cause a problem with here. It's more looking towards that retake.
And I think, I was just sorry to cut you off, mate, but like you think that you say that, but
I'm sorry to cut you off, mate.
Garden on a retake, you even the playing field. Like I don't hate that idea, but
no,
one thing I do hate is Navi always invest in those ultimates.
I was just about to say that when you look at Happy's history, even as a player, he was always someone very good at doing more with less, at least in terms of weaponry, so I find it funny.
Well, klávesnici. Apex Steel Series Pro.
Situation we're in, it's Hero. The sheriff in his hands this time. A hand cannon, as it were.
And there's always two ways of approaching a round after a timeout. Do you either play it fast and loose, or do you play it slow and methodical? And KC looking to go the latter route. As they dot their I's, cross their T's, and Navi are like moths to a flame, trying to respond to any sort of pressure. Yeah. KC are poking and prodding throughout the map.
And they still have a minute left here as well, Cairo.
It's of Nightfall as well.
It is. Angel getting it up from the orb picked from the floor of A main. That's where the initial aggression was.
No, tuhle se nevyznám, kámo, v klávesnicích, sorry, já se nevyznám, v Gearu se nevyznám. Možná v nějakých myších pár, ale v klávesnicích vůbec. Takže neporadím, bro. Jako Wu-Tang, no tak já ti prodám tuhle moji za 5 a koupím si Wu-Tang.
Spectre in hand. Hero also on his lonesome
20 seconds
time. Not really here for them, needing to clear out those couple of players, but look, Aves is a safe pair of hands. 2 kills quickly. Spike in a spot where you would want Koala's nade maybe to stop it. It's going to take a while for him to get back over. The rest of the upgrades are on site. Angel does have the Vandal. He's trying to play it kind of early.
And that horn to clear close by, but that rifle now passed over to Koala. He doesn't even have shields either.
No, and I don't know how much more of a go he wants to give this. He won't get half a chance. That's 6 rounds now, successive for KC. Split should have been the shoe-in for Navi, but now you're looking at the real possibility of a completely catastrophic second half. The defender-sided half, of which we saw be airtight for them before, but now
9-9 chat.
And it's porous.
Yeah, it's not looking good whatsoever. The
Koala na
ultimates to
vypůl.
come back in. Sure, they used the Nightfall, but there's plenty more at their side. We look towards mid as there's a couple players here to try and brawl it out. Koala holds on to B main with his operator.
The first real time that you've seen that op come in play as well. The desk talking about it in detail, how Navi's macro is built around this. A consistent factor.
Jak je chlebis, sám dobře. Kdo tady jenom lurkujete a koukáte na zápas jedničku, ať vím, kdo jste sama nepovídáte. Vím, co tady jste, tak vám řeknu, že jste gouti. Pozdravíme lurkery.
Still to make his introduction here as well, so this has been really good.
Ty pičo.
And Roxix able to
Dobrý.
get 2, but Casey 2 back in the conversation. It's even after that engagement.
They have the tower
Čauko,
control
Peter,
here as well,
Čusí,
which
Dandy,
they have
Osap,
so frequently
Berry ho.
enjoyed.
Dajme lurkery.
He's in a one and done angle. He can't really escape from there.
But Casey
Ahoj
closed
lurkeři.
it off. SLEDUJ looking to use his utility through this smoke, play around with the timing, shooting.
Jak může vzít ještě jednoho s sebou, vole?
But still finding the kills. Koala has the ult if he needs it. It's just to get
Jestli
that
má
first
čas
round on
bomba?
the board.
Jasně.
You might as well pull the trigger now.
He's also buying time for Hero to get into position as well.
But Hero doesn't want to go too quickly because he's worried that SLEDUJ might have repositioned. Still 10 toes down on the B site. And as the showstopper goes off, he knows where Koala is. If he can find this kill, then maybe there was a chance. But there you have it. Navi coming back eventually, double digits, but it took a while.
Yeah, that's the exact point I was coming in with. The fact that it had taken 7 rounds to find that round as well. I mean, the benefit from that
Jak
last
vezme
round
dva,
is that
kámo.
Casey were able to get the showstopper. The bad thing is, they chose their own.
And again, you're just expecting him to be involved as much as possible on these rounds when he has the op. Through mid, he'll go this time, smoke place market side, but he's the first responder to the ramp play.
Yeah, for the most part, Navi were happy to lean heavier towards other places in the map. So now the players start to rotate in. Casey had a free sight, they don't anymore.
The wall not yet tripped in that position. They know it's
Jak ho SLEDUJ zabil do smoku.
Casey get themselves on site. Without Koala Noob, his trusty op, the support of player presence, it's Casey that take this fight early.
Trying to go in towards CT, the ultimates now starting
Ty vole, ten Omen musí zachránit, ten Slugetsu je teď musí zachránit. No jim to došlo, dobrý, není to dobrý. Není to dobrý.
And Navi, after getting their first very quickly, double up.
And it's so important that they do as well, because you're looking at the money on a few of these players. Ruxic, Hero, Shao, all below 200 credits. I don't think there was any world where KC were going to get caught off guard fully by that Cosmic Divide TP play. You remember back to kickoff last year, they were the ones that pioneered it with the Yoru, but it's the fact that there is no return there.
I think that's the thing though, right? You say that, there's no way they're going to get caught off guard, but they do in another sense. They put so much investment into trying to deal with it that Navi are able to get the value.
It's like a distraction.
Yeah.
Look. It's your favorite set retake over here in backside, and then the rest of Navi have a different kind of approach. The next round just as important as the last, and that can be said for KC most importantly. Stinger in the hands of Martin, the rest have the guns they would like. SLEDUJ the ult, 5 players through the mouth of main.
Outcome, Koala's op has been
nice.
notified and well shot.
Nice, nezabil 2 Shao, do piča ten Ruxic. Zase ten Ruxic, kámo. Ne tím skinem, vole.
still able to survive, and he has support as well. Navi are looking to send this towards 12, and they'll get it. That's 3 in a row.
They all come up at the exact right time. I mean,
Yay.
it was bound to happen. The 9-3 comeback, we get to 9-9, and it's all Navi.
But it's like the same storyline that happened on Icebox.
Absolutely. The question now will be, can they close it on not completely favorable terms? KC still have money left in the bank. They've got a timeout from which to work. But that was, you know, a precious ult invested. The first couple of picks collected, but then Navi with the rest of the player numbers, and Ruxic dropping out of tower there to support the double kill, reinforcing the backside space with his smoke as well to his left-hand side, enabling everyone else around him, as both smokes are the stars on the Navi side.
And you see this easily going to overtime as well. I don't think Navi are completely out of the woods just yet. I mean, you look at the money as well,
prostě, no.
it's still not amazing on the defense. As for the attack, and we'll have found most of their success, or I guess less of their success recently. They've been caught off guard with these retakes that Navi have been doing.
Yeah. And it's a point that I raised much earlier, but I suppose it was almost invalidated with that streak of success from KC, but some underlying issues starting to pop up in these rounds that matter most, when you felt like the teams were on even terms, that big swing in their direction has been met with an equal response.
KC kože první je pacient boň, za druhé takový Coleman, kryl. A bude mít Collapse Dead by Daylight, hezky. Pade taky pískne. Mně líbí, že ten Koala jde takhle přesně konfidentně vzít prostě space jak blbec. A teď na druhou stranu, boom. Jednoho vezme, ne, sebou. Ne jo, nádhera. To nečekaj tam takhle sedí, to je dobrý.
And you look back to the streak of rounds that KC won, they always had that first pick.
He did. Ruxic though, he's trying to be a bit too aggressive for my liking.
Nice, paranoia out.
Paranoia so he can get out and calling for support, an Angel.
2 players tucked. You look at Hero in the meantime, completely detached from all of this on A.
Right there.
Elite is going to be walking on up.
To není pěkný, a tak on kdyby tím VIPem followoval ten angle a neflikoval si, tak má jednoho, že? Mimo aspoň. To je jak ten Shao. Peťák! Jasně, jako úplně jasný, ne? Když by dostal jedničku, tak ji dostane tak jako tak. Jo, ale byla by mnohem větší šance. Takhle byla nulová. Když by followoval angle tím VIPem, tak by měl třeba 30%, 40%. To mi to vypadalo jako, že snaha, chápeš? A jako tam bys nikoho nečekal. Jo, jsou samý hero play, přesně, real.
Does get destroyed, and the drop in not yet here. As he's finally spotted, Hero responds, and this might just be how the
Pojď Martin, 1v2, to je tvoje, bro. To je tvoje, bro.
KC and the decider, the first kill is his. The TP across, and the time on his side. Shao has to stick it half. Martin
nice.
And nails the shot. A Red Bull clutch. 10 taken.
To není tam Peakers advantage, no. Ale furt by byla větší šance než takhle. To musíš jakoby, nevím. Já jsem řekl 30, ne, že by měl perfect kill, chápu. Já jsem řekl, že by měl tak 30%, 40 na kill. Umí počítat. Mohl to zahrát líp a dát si větší šance na urvání killu. Asi takhle bych to řekl.
It's the biggest round in this series so far. And it's Shao again, who needs to keep his composure. 1 kill might not be enough, especially due to the fact there isn't players on site this time. playing from tower, they'll keep the space at the very least, but
well, his nades have been pretty good in past though.
Yeah, I think he needs an extra layer of support to find this kill. Instead, it just buys time. Navi have made that rotation happen.
Yeah, that Nightfall still up and available for Angel. This retake could be pretty good for Navi.
Alves hearing footsteps in the halls above. The Nightfall not going to catch him.
Vypínačka.
Sadak at a top draw. Here's
Nice.
on to the next. KC coming up clutch in the rounds that
Nice. Jedem.
Regulation to the limits of it we will go.
Oni mají teď Echo. Oni mají Echo Navi.
Still not keeling.
Hazard, they're going to have to throw the kitchen sink at this round. They have absolutely nothing in terms of their buy. It was a big swing round and it swung defiantly in KC's favour. The ultimates, I mean, here or there, you look at it, depending on the way that some of these kills go, or ultimate orbs, that could be a defining factor.
No, taky to hodím stejně, no, že i když někdy to zahráli zas na velíp. Ale jako celkově mi přijde, že KC hrajou taky líp, no, ale a vy to mají jako u Hero playovaný jak blázen. Neklírujem Flower. Ajajaj, je mrtvý. Ne jo. Mre, jak ten Shao vždycky někoho urve, já tomu nerozumím.
Spike still not down. The reposition. And Ruxic right behind them. Oh my lord, he's only gonna get one for now.
Nedělej mi nervy. Nedělej mi nervy. S bulldogem.
Doing it right at the death, 13-11. And so with that, there is more to be played.
I thought we were heading to overtime, I'll be completely honest. KC swing a punch and completely miss. Fall over their own feet. I feel as if that should have went to overtime. I just don't know how it didn't.
To gentleman nepůjde, protože by tam šel, když tam je mini. Vy tomu nerozumíte ani hovno, to je konec. Výkopes prostě. Jdu na vec, konec jsem tu. Zatím sázejte na třetí mapu.
No one giving it to Angel. Angel taking it by himself. It took a while, but I got him. Bro, it was hard.
Red Bull gives you wings. I don't know where you've been sold, but I'd be insane not to play my role. Yeah, I know I can break a fall. The stakes are low. If I can say one thing, just know that I got a hand that I can lend you. And it don't matter when, no, I'll protect you. Call on me, I'm here when there. Those who played it in one move five is bad. Just know that I got a hand that I can lend you. And it don't matter when, no, I'll protect you. Call on me, I'm here when there. Those who played it in one move five is bad. Oh, you think you tough? I think that's unlikely. You can keep on looking, but can't find nobody like me. Eldorado pushing, why I'm pressing in a white tee. You know I love you, I need someone who can guide me. I can't do no little bag. I need 3 mil. That's coming in both directions just like a be real. I've been eating good, to be lucky to get 3 mil. First place, run it up. Care about what you feel. Give you everything, anything. I have you, you're my everything. And just know that I got a hand that I can lend you. And it don't matter when, no, I'll protect you. Call on me, I'm here when there.
To pro víc vynucení dost používat to, co dostanou, jako jo. Jako ne, ale na tom VCT mají prostě nějaký monitor, Riot má nějakýho sponzora a ten má monitory, chápeš? A oni musí hrát na těch monitorech. Proto pak i ty profíci mají doma ten stejný monitor, aby hráli na stejném monitoru. Protože jakoby nevím, bylo by docela píčovina hrát na jiném monitoru doma a pak jakoby na stage, nebo? Že oni most of the time nejsou kámo doma. Oni když hrajou tohle, tak chodí hrát, tak hrajou v officeu, že jo? Oni mají byt, koupený normálně jakoby v Berlíně mají normálně byt, zaplacený od Orgy a chodí do officeu hrát a tam mají prostě stejný dle mého setup, jenom víc FPS než jako, teď už třeba ne jo, ale mají tam stejný setup jako tady na stage, aby si měl prostě to stejný.
I mean, it felt like a real comeback to start things off, but yeah, it's fizzled out a little bit at the end, but who the hell was that on Navi? Like, who were those guys?
Do you mean
who
that
were those
one?
guys?
The one in the middle? Yeah.
Yeah, both teams just defense to me. It was just like this whole series. Poor defenses and not finding any footing in there at all. But Navi realizing at the end.
Ale tak když máte 11 dolarů bych ho koupil, jak ho koupím.
I do want to say that this is such a KC way of having a fake comeback, because this could have been a real comeback. This could have been a 2-0 KC, which is a sentence I've said about 50 times since I've been in EMEA. If it weren't for some of the shenanigans we saw in round 20, round 19 as well, Hypog, it's just it's the same thing we spoke about in the pre-show. They haven't learned.
Yeah, but you're talking about the Cosmic Divide.
Yeah, we're going to see it.
Yeah,
we're going to see it.
There's just a couple that's... And it's not even as if somebody's overheating or it's like there's scenarios like this time and time again where KC come out on top, but then you look at this and there's almost like a split decision here because somebody's getting shot in the back trying to hard clear this Cosmic Divide. Martin's jumping through again trying to spray with a rifle. Got away with one of those today already, but it's just one of those where it's like these are the sort of situations we're talking about where if these are kind of like micro calls on the fly, reactionary to things going down, SLEDUJ should be in control of those. So that's the sort of thing that actually the pre-show we're tapping into. SLEDUJ shouldn't be miscalling sort of some of these situations. So you've got to ask questions about why these things pan out the way they do.
Yeah, and the irony there completely is that that's a play that KC should be used to because they invented that on the attack where they used the Cosmic Divide to get the Euro in. And in that moment, it just felt like there's just so much there must have been so much chaos in the comms. They didn't have kind of a mature reaction to what was happening, didn't have a protocol for it, and just kind of melted a little bit, it felt like.
Nobody was on the same page there. They're going to be kicking themselves when they watch that back. Now, you guys asked about who was on Navi. Shao was on Navi. Shao's been on Navi this whole time.
Wow.
And he's come alive.
Wow, has he? That feels like that's one of the best map performances from Shao we've seen in like 18 months. Like, it was just absolutely phenomenal from him. Again, situations are kind of synonymous when you think back to when Shao and Sugetsu played alongside each other. These are the sort of rounds you expect from either one of them. But here he had like 6 or 7 of those rounds.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Like, I think we just got the analyst desk curse, so we need to just choose.
He was listening. They were in the ready rooms listening.
We need to choose another player.
All right, who
I think we go Shao again. Let's get another
double
one.
Shao?
Yeah, because Mike said it's the first map in what, like, you know, a year almost where he's. Let's go for 2.
All right, back-to-back Shao. I mean, once upon a time, that was a bog standard day in the office for Shao. He did this every single match. We saw him play.
Do we tap into some of the ancient Shao magic on Ascent for the decider?
Yeah, we
Bust the fade out?
Okay, we're going to do it in a moment.
Days.
No spoilers. We're going to do it in a moment because we gassed up Hero since the day he joined Navi, and we're going to continue to do this because, again, very, very consistent. Again, not sure why Mini decided not to keep him on Fnatic. Weird decision.
You look like an idiot now.
Yeah, actually kind of weird that didn't happen. But let's take a look at some of the heroic clutches that we saw. And we complain about Shao not having a Shao show performance, but Hero's just doing this every single
Víc než Valorant si to bude stahovat, chápeš? To nerozumím.
Why not?
Because I'll be in big trouble.
I'll speak because this was such an insane clutch as well. Again, everything thrown at him. SLEDUJ throws the ult in, the paranoia lands, everything. He's backed up into elbow. The only real criticism on the side of KC here is that Aves is a little ahead of the curve, and I mean you can see. immediately hear the emotions shown back in the coach camp, but rightfully so.
Yeah.
Like I said, when you're investing in a 3v1, the Nightfall and the Paranoia, and you've got the Raze to gap close, again, just throw bodies on it together.
Do you reckon that's why he shaved his hair? To make that moment a little bit more, even more dramatic?
That was the he's foreseen this moment.
Yeah, but
he knew moments like that were coming.
I've never seen him wear a hat, first of all. Not one time. And second of all, just the drama, throwing it off and it's got no hair.
So like
that was pretty good. Yeah, he was prepping that one.
Yeah, that should have been in your playbook once upon a time. Would have been great for you to do.
My hair's too big for a hat, I think. Wouldn't work.
I seem bigger, but all right. Let's talk about some of the rounds we saw. Stop staring at me like that.
I was just waiting for you to move on.
Hero's staring at me, and you're staring at me as well. Let's talk. I mean, I'll give you an opportunity to talk, Minnie, because I know you have a lot to talk about that first half and the A hits we saw.
Yeah, so I thought that Navi did a great job of attacking that A site, and I thought it was kind of a mistake from KC that they didn't end up adapting at all. Like, Sadak was talking about these adaptations, but I didn't see the adaptations at all here. Personally, I would have loved to see Martin defend that A site at the start of rounds a little bit more, because Navi just got the free site a lot of the time, and their comp is pretty good in the post-plant. Their strength is not those execs. They don't have the breach or like a double duelist.
Jsem nevěděl, že Echiren dělá Valorant Analytics, tak ty jsi dement. To je debil, chat, to je debil.
Again, the adaptation from KC not coming in, Yoru nowhere to be seen on A.
Well, what's funny, you said that 2 rounds, I mean, one of them being where they flash out the smoke, and Martin's TP was still like just in the open. So whether or not that was just kind of like the timing wasn't quite right for him, and the TP hadn't reached his final, just this one right here. It's the one where they switched it up to actually send him forwards on A. But then that was kind of it. It was almost like that was a tilting way for it to end, and I mean it comes so late on in the half that there's not many opportunities to try and replicate that, but it felt a little weird that was the one way to try and address that, and A wasn't successful, came so late on that actually can't build upon that, but you know, what is the second layer to the defense?
Yeah, it looked like to me that KC had like a plan to play more on the retake at
which
isn't the correct game plan in my opinion versus that composition.
Is it just me, or is the music really hype right now? I don't know if you guys can hear the music.
I can hear it,
yeah. It's kind of hype, and I'm glad the music is kind of hype, because we are going to map 3. It will be Ascent, and as you were spoiling there a little bit, you know, Shao,
jo, skoro to má, musí ještě jednou zabrat, tak to zkus ještě jednou.
Can I one-up you just a little bit?
Well.
Do you want to guess what hero's most played agent on Ascent is, of all time?
Ooh. Of all time?
Yeah, for him, for hero alone. Just to sprinkle in some it's Phoenix.
Oh, really?
Would you put hero on the Phoenix?
Can we fact check that? Because I actually don't believe that.
I'm dead ass.
He used to be a duelist player.
Yeah, I know, but Phoenix on a set.
Yep, Phoenix 8 times.
Ti velký svaz útočí. Já útočím na sebe, když jsem označil tebe.
Why not?
It's just not.
Vidíš to?
Me too. He's Turkish. We're forgetting the fact that he's Turkish. We got 2 Turkish players on the Ascent on the side of Navi.
Really
it's looking good.
I just want to see a good, honest, clean Ascent from Navi.
Já jsem zautočil na Gavery a zautočil jsem sám na sebe ze zádu a masivně jsem se naložil a dostal jsem do prdele.
Oh, so you want the default comp?
Default comp, maybe not, like some Teo in there, maybe a VÍCE.
Well, then how is that going to
Počkej,
be more standard, you know?
Like standard calling, like Phoenix to me is like you're limited so much. You have to like work around it. Like Angel's gonna have to do some magic with the Phoenix.
You reckon Shao will be jailed on another role though?
Yes.
What, you think yes?
Yes.
If Angel plays sober here, I swear to God.
I'll walk out.
I swear to God, if that
You'll have to find somebody else for the second series.
If that man dares to put himself on sober.
I mean, Mike implied earlier, they've always been a little bit more fade on Ascent, so what do you think about that? Like, you're still okay with Angel fade, or is that still a...
Ten peso byl unikněm rychle od spolubydlící. Extrém.
I will be a tiny bit upset, but they could
tak jsem myslel, že to jo.
They could still do the KO.
Yeah,
Že mu dával mekáček, on vždycky říkal, no, že mu dává. To vždycky nakládá jídlo.
You're hoping actually Navi have kind of got something, I don't want to say ace up the sleeve, but back pocket that they've been kind of working on.
Tam týpek to ládoval tu flašku.
This isn't necessarily going to be, I mean, if this comes out now that it feels like a fumble in the veto that we end up on Ascent, because on the other side of things, obviously KC 0-1, they play the deadlock
Yeah, it was a double duelist deadlock.
So that would be a little bit heartbreaking to see.
Well,
Martin
we are
Nugget.
gonna get Shao on Tejo. Love that. Angel on deadlock. Okay, let's talk about the other side as well.
Yeah, KC dropping the deadlock as well. Obviously, previously it was the Jet and the Razor.
Yeah, it was a double duelist deadlock. So KC
what feels like a bit of an overhaul.
Yeah, KC going back to boring. Yinsu's gonna love that one.
Yeah, this does feel a little more vanilla from the side of KC. But Navi, I'm here for it.
I'm excited to see what they've cooked up. Angel, when he plays the Sentinel on defense,
No, watch out for him just
running around and like in the moment, just literally figuring out what he wants to do. And sometimes it works beautifully, sometimes it doesn't. So hopefully for him today, it's gonna work beautifully.
It's gonna have to work beautifully if Navi
Martin
want to
Nugget,
move to the next round, because
Martin
there will
Nugget.
be no second chances in this
To, co nás
series.
zajímá.
Hazard and Karo, the
To je to, co nás
loser
baví.
will be eliminated from playoffs.
Both of these teams so much riding on this game to set up whether their stage so far feels like a success or a failure, because we've seen improvements in some ways, drop-offs in others, and now heading on towards Ascent. I want to speak about Navi here quickly, because last year they played Ascent 8 times. We felt like coming in, picking up such a capable opper like Koala Noob, that we would be seeing this from them a whole lot more, but we haven't.
Jo, tohle. Kámo, ale tak ty pičo.
And then 1-4. It's always been about consistency, and it's that conversation that comes up yet again.
The stakes could never be higher.
Ty mi děláš tlaky, fakt je vidět, že nekoukáš prostě na videa na YouTube, protože já tam o té mapě i mluvím. Minulý týden jsem o ní mluvil. Jo. Možná ne, vole, ale moc nejméně na streamu. Sajpele. Počkej, jak Martin, že už je mrtvej. Ty sajpele.
As KC have gone back to this default style. It's through mid that they'll look to try and funnel the players, but Koala Noob again delivers a bullet to the brain of Elites. This time he'll walk away with 2, but still the numbers Navi.
All that door is dropped.
Proč vydáš streamera, smrte?
Who now becomes the Joker. In fact, they're going to open the door back up to let him back in, but both players are already out heaven.
Because I mean, there's a mesh set up, so Navi looking to try and take this fight. It's a TP back towards main for Koala. Ruxic finding the kill. Koala looking to add the final details. Ruxic that ends up with both. Another attack side pistol for Navi. By my count, that's now 5 in a row.
Yeah, and not only that, you can already see the comfortability on Koala within this comp, on the Yoru. That's what you should expect when you're running a composition of agents, but he knows how to work.
And even from the double sentinel here, which
je možný, že od tebe zvedá oni jakoby, tak
is that we've seen other teams in the region go for it, right? We know that Apex tried it. It was one of the maps where they did find a little bit of success. Liquid against BBL.
Mám pojď, jak varně rybečka mi jsou slime, ale stejně jak respektu.
And for me, you're just looking at those combos as well with the Tejo and how that net and salvos are going to be paired up.
That's the thing. Something everyone always highlights with this comp, that KC are running the deep. Oh, wait a minute, Hero, he could get caught here.
You can go here?
I think he'll be alright.
Oi.
Oh. Without his cage, but yeah. Hitting the tag. Swings and roundabouts, mate. They are off to A.
Yeah, they've seen plenty of bodies here. The correct decision is to be as quick as possible in hitting A. But KC could be quick in cutting off rotations. They missed their opportunity. Now we look at Aves.
Biding his time towards the back of Gen. Anything here would have been good. It's a turned head for Koala Noob. There's no problem.
A little bit of a headache, paracetamol.
Zapnu Valoranta kouknout se. Jestli mám v shopu, na mainu, jestli ho tak někdo kupujete.
And from this position, with the stat that you saw at the start of the round, the history in terms of how they manage money.
Odmražili jste mi ledničku, let's go, co se jim dáváš, jakoby energetiák jenom. Ten velký zamražený Jäger, jste blázen. Jsi škurami vandal, jo.
But no, it's just safeguarded the round instead. And to carry on what I was going to say,
tam je většinou.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be losing anything here at all.
Yeah. I just want to go back to my point that I'd started at the start of the round, right? About how Navi, in terms of the composition they're playing against, will have plenty of opportunity.
Já nemám rád teplý kečup v sousech, takže si ho dávám na vrch. Proč má VIP za ten kód, díky moc, hoj, čau, nedám. Ale když dáš ty updated, když nedáš ty updated, tak ti dám slab. Není čau, díky, ahoj. VIP fakt nemá cenu 10 €. Ale takhle mě můžeš. NTL.
Made his choice here. 5 players at the B spawn barrier. Sadak with the utility. It's just a shock that he fires in. Very committed position, but the Cajun support and dropping the recon behind it. What's in for a little bit more, but all it ends with is damage and tears.
Yeah, but remember, 3 players of KC are here and ready.
Martin, double.
It's Martin. Spike dropped, and Angel trying to recollect the spike gives himself up. Navi, I mean, it's just been fallen to the wayside here. It looks like KC will have the response. Is that Navi Kc once again on the bonus?
This hero can do something about it. First couple shots clean onto Martin, but KC have restored order in the rifle as you expect.
Yeah. Again, though, I don't want to be the hater, right? But like, how many times?
No, you know what? The floor is yours.
But like, how many times are we going to see Navi not win a bonus round when they have that buy? Like, they set themselves up perfectly every time, as you should expect from the architects of the FPX buy, right? But like, the next round, the bonus round is always so underwhelming and it's frustrating.
I think there, KC just given the time to react here. They want to be proactive instead. Martin into the fire and flames beyond this smoke. Is
Martin
there
jenom
support?
dělá
It comes in the form of Alves, but it's just not enough.
Ty vole.
Lasting. Navi immediately respond.
Yeah, what a way to respond to any criticism that had levied against them. Very well navigated by Navi.
It's all in the name, buddy. It's all in the name. But I have to say, that's a situation where it's like, okay, is that repeatable?
Yeah.
Probably not, because KC have just brought the fight straight to them. The question will be, is there more of the same? Is that something that this defense wants to try? Because when you talk about strap hooks, and Ascent being in quite a healthy meta right now, I think all things considered, everyone knows what the straps are. You've seen that play a million times.
Kamil, máš v rámečku aspoň někde nad postelí.
Went back to Vision Strikers, as it's been called many a time. Not even in Valorant any longer. So Getsu, is he going to be in this round? As he tries to escape Martin.
Nice, Martin podržel teammate. Vandal má experience. Kámo, já mám třeba 12 vandalů, já to mám si swapovat, neboj.
Navi, not the ones that are putting a foot in front of each other too well here. It's a couple of missteps. Now trying to force the issue on B, but the setup is there. KC do well just to trade out an elite buying time from backside. Shao again. Top draw, and with the spike down, there's still a chance between him and Hero. These are the players you want.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've got Sentinel utility to work with here as well, so Navi in prime position in post.
And the ult on Shao to set up Hero. Oh, it's blocked him a little bit from the initial entry, but he fans out behind it. And KC are caught with a blind eye, but still Hero can't do anything but damage.
Oni jsou tak low, kamaráde.
Sitting inside the smoke, the spike not shown, but as it evaporates from his vision, there you have it. KC effective in the way that they've played off of one another to set up this second.
The big thing for Navi in this round, very similar to Split, is when they get into post, if they have majority of their members up, it should be as strong as possible. It should be almost impossible for KC to get back.
Protože to furt můžeš fightit stéry a laneu. Takhle v ten moment byly stéry out of reach pro defendery, před co retakeu a ty jsi mohl pushnout za tou ultinou.
Mero Trulicina. Il pritiletin in piscina. Formaggio sulla trulla lima. Ma chi chiama la tazzina?
Jak se to laglo, to vždycky. Jo, má kotík za 33 měsíců. Moc, bro. Zase zpět v dia, gratuluji. Nevím, proč Gaviry udělala deal, že až nové 15 dostanu modál, nevadí mi to. Máš screen? To je nádhera, Sadak. Který se pamatuje? Zase potáhnu šimíkem, tak jakoby jak jinak, chápeš? Jak jinak? Máme rok, díky bohu. To několik týdnů strašně omrzí. Tebe omrzel, bro. Každý skin tě omrzí, já nejsem debil, víš co. Proto je mám, soRa. Jestli to nejsou peníze, nedává to peníze, nedává to smysl.
Matt, you are him, bro. You are him.
So many times that we've seen a player have their moment. I mean, right now, I think the most telling thing about the scoreboard, and you won't see it as we're in the timeout for Navi, is that Sugetsu is, well, actually, there's quite a lot to talk about. Sugetsu has 10 assists, firstly, 10 assists inside 6 rounds, so that tells you all you need to know in terms of Navi pushing through these smokes. And secondly, actually looking at the kill distribution, pretty much everyone has at least 3 kills. And like 3 or 4 deaths. KC are just very efficient, very tightly knit, and doing a fantastic job.
PM, Martin, nemám v PM.
When we look at what the utility Navi have, they don't have any like really.
Proč mi pošleš klip do PM? Z Valorantu. Čimík.
And if you have one player playing anti-flash, then it's very easy to destroy the push.
KC starting to come up on some ults here. Navi not as close. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Look how perfect.
On to nemůže někam uploadnout normálně, to poslat jak normální člověk. On mi prostě pošle klip, kohy. On prostě klip přes Discord. To je debil. Streamej byl, tam to můžeš postnout a pak jenom poslat link. Easy business. A to je jedno. Až bude nějaká pauza, jak ti to zčeknu. Víš co, mezi kolem. A je konec.
And it's the A-site onslaught with Hero slipping in between the lines beyond the barrier mesh. It's another kill. Could this be the Navi?
Martin nože? Enty. Tak se ukaž, Šimíku, jestli to bude hovno, vole. Tak, za prvý. Proč jsi to katnul na konci? Jediný, co slyším, je tvůj nádech, kamaráde. Proč jsi to katnul na konci? A dík, kámo. L úplně. Úplně L, kámo. Počkej, chat. Okay. Kámo, to je úplně šílený, počkej, co radí takhle dolítnul, ty jsi zabil za letu, kámo. Hej, tak to je chcípám, tak to chcípám. Tak to je konec, to jsem normálně nikdy neviděl, ty píčo. Kámo, tak to normálně, to dej na Twitter, poslaš Valorant, třeba budeš v nějakých dalších playích, nebo někde, kámo, třeba vyhraješ free RPčka, nebo něco možná ve VCT, ale kámo, tak to jsem normálně neviděl, že z takovýhle dálky ho dokázal zabít. Já se fakt omlouvám, chat, se mnou asi jakoby není zábava, já jsem asi jakoby unfun člověk a jsem strašně bias tom jakoby, že já už jsem viděl všechno v tom Valorantu a pokud mi neukážeš, kámo, fakt něco jakoby zajímavého, tak je to fakt nuda. To, co jsem viděl už 1000krát, kamaráde, ve Valorantu a je to jakoby úplně default pro mě. To je, když jsi mi poslal to, že jsi prostě dostal jedničku. Nebo že jsi dal jedničku. Chápeš? Prostě jakoby... Já se omlouvám. Asi jsem no fan člověk. To, jak krabuješ ke spikeu, jsem v životě neviděl, jo? Že někdo v deadlock normálně granátu vydefusnout spike. Místo toho, aby si ho vytáhl normálně a šel hrát. To jsem jako neviděl. To byl zajímavý klip, ale to zbazal šimík, to normálně šimíku. Nekomentu. Vím, že mě někdy třeba pošlete, kámo, někdy třeba pošlete klip, kdy najednou jste oba slepí a jdete proti sobě týpkám s nožem a jste oba slepí nebo něco. Takže vím, že jsem to viděl milionkrát. Chápeš? Takže I don't find it even funny. Ale v píči, já jsem prostě hater, se omlouvám ti. Mám být víc hodnej. A já budu furt hater. Ne, prostě já jenom jako chápeš. Už jsem toho viděl hodně. Tak prostě těžký mě impresnout. Teď můj klip, nechci, aby jsme mi posílali klipy. Dík. Kouk jsem na jeden a ne, už ne. Klipy zas někdy. Pošlete to do klipy novinky, anebo mi to pošlete vždycky, když jsou mezi zápasem. A ne, vole, ve zápase, vám tady budu koukat na klipy. Degeši úplně. Takhle mě můžete. Ty vole. Tu Getsu.
Bruxic last player left and it's just fallen apart for Navi. At least step it in to just shear away another. It's a pace safeguard thrifty and no rest for Navi at all.
No rest for the wicked, no rest for Valorant watchers because what just happened, mate? A pace safeguard thrifty and KC, even after winning that round, are going to call a timeout.
Sublime from Sui. Whatever it is you want to say about this round, KC
took the
onus on themselves to go for that B play, to fight tiles from both lanes, to keep it constricted. Hero goes down, Sui able to follow it up with that second kill. And now off the timeout, they feel the wind at their backs, money in their pockets, but there is an issue.
And I think for me, the issue is that contingency that they need to have against Navi's ultimates, right? Because
to
these last couple of rounds, they are nowhere near what Navi have.
Možná ne. A zase jakoby, on to chvilku trvá vytáhnout a zase u té bomby seš rychlejc, takže jakoby... A kdyby si to vytáhla a běžela k tomu, tak seš vidět za prý z toho smoku a... A ne, tak nejste tam takhle. Dobře, bere, stáhnu, potom se kovede člověk ve fulán, no, správně, Zojko. Já pak streamovat nebudu, můžeš stahovat. Já se nechci smát, a proč bys se smál, kámo? To jsi někdo dal ace, tomu se směješ? Ty degeš. Hater energy zas gone. Fau, to děláš, Fau. A neřekni mi, že dneska, co jsi dělal dneska, neřekni mi, že jsi vařil nebo nakupoval. A nebo dělal drinky. A nehrál Bradavice. A ono prý fire do mě i s těm Bradavice mám zmrt. Ano, děkuji, Zojko, podívej se, zanech lajky, ten. Rozděl na části, no tak to jednou klipu to nevešlo, ne? KC win, KC win.
Reposition towards B for Navi on this attack side.
Big info.
As you say, the difference is they
would. A druhá, ale mají tam taky.
It's the recon in front of the utility and they go back to the stack. Hero still here. Neural Theft dropped in. What do they do with this info?
I mean, they've only found the Cypher and look at the reposition off the back of it. I thought they were going to run to B because only one player was found, but
crash out tam je, můj crash out.
And Naves is only able to get one
nice elite.
defending his chance, but he's already taken so much damage. It's easy for Koala to finish.
Nice, Martin.
Martin getting one of his own. 2v2.
To ne.
The spike, but it's not to be advised. It's Navi will find
Když jsem se učil na předmět social media, pak jsem udělal revizi kapitolky, co jste napsal, která se líbila Saru, pak jsem se koukal na yesterday a pak si dal workout, dneska málo věcí, ale nevařil jsem hezky. To si jel za workout.
What does it look like out of the opening 12? How much more is there left in the tank? Does this double sentinel have legs? And right now, in terms of the rounds as they're being played, just looking for KC to make their move first, because this has been a very proactive version of a style we've seen so many times before, even by those standards.
Well, one of the ultimates was used. It was only the neural theft and found massive value.
Noodle theft.
Now you look at the rest available, and they can usually get
Noodle rot.
even better chances at being
noodle rot?
now. Looks to be another B split. Martin.
Čimík pláče, kámo, mě je úplně líto. Oh, nice, Martin.
And the next bite of the cherry is just as sweet.
Teď chudák Čimík tam pláče, vole.
4v3 situation.
Mám workout tak dneska na horní část těla hezky.
So that rotation is even quicker. The read's perfect. 3 players in short. Navi walking up and into trouble, into the face of danger.
Když on nakupovat.
Back in and doing it in dominant fashion.
Nice, Martin.
The support was there.
Dobrý kill, důležitý.
A little bit of individual brilliance.
A prej bude plakat pak.
Still performing together.
It's not even that, right? I can't wait for it to come back up on the replay. But Martin's split-second decision making, not to go for the fake out, but to go for the Euro that was swinging him. And then on top of that, like that, just nice.
Mě chodit nechce, protože o tom vím hovno a protože ten workout stačí po workoutu mě teď bolí prsa, to je dobře.
Yeah, but last round, we've been highlighted it many a times for the past couple. The ultimates to be used.
So many ults. Everything but the kitchen sink thrown at this. Koala's just looking for a target to send that deadlock ult in. Spotted in tower. Martin gets out. But I have to say, with all of this Sentinel util, now in post, KC have to go quickly.
Yeah, they need to be careful, and not only that, if they do go quickly, there's ultimates to deny as well. First one in.
Nejdísek,
zoom. Armageddon used either, but it might not be needed at all. It isn't. Navi move into the next half with an advantage.
You're seeing the value from the utility there, and while it's late on the half, it's late in the evening and Navi have their advantage. They lead.
Tam venku 8 večer, venku světlo jak odpoledne, more.
KC trying to fly that French flag through the lower bracket, but it's a long way away now.
Tohle bouk do toho úplně jak zmrt. Jakoby je Tarčus Pepega. Do YouTube chatu zdravím. Pak koukám KC versus Navi a čas na večeři, to všude vzít a pak hezky sednout zahrát si něco, to dělají on grinder. Mě rizuje? Ty koučej zdarma asi ne, co? Ne, no. Ale běž na Twitch, napiš vykřičník coach a dostaneš se na stránku, kde se můžeš podívat. Já budu koukat i na Vitality. Já nebudu koukat Vitality a Footno, já pak budu offline něco udělat a vrátím se pak nějak, až oni dohrajou later. Takže W's in the chat. I vy, co lurkujete, tak všichni napište W, kámo, protože jestli tohle KC projebou, tak jdou do piče. Všichni W, i lurkeři, udělejte mi radost. Napiš W, udělám mi radost. Thank you, Gamer, díky, jak jsi říkal. Mám pokračovat, jaj. Výzojkový chleba.
Many times on the attack side they were barreling through smokes, but as they clear out that space, A is where the push is coming in.
Navi well aware of what needs to be done, and well, they've stopped this before it's even got started.
Just looking for a kill, maybe through a shock or something.
Kdyby se v těch brácích mluvilo fakt, tak si to klidně zahraju, ale psátka, mohl bych chcít. To je moc, to je málo stimulace. To je pro mileniály, no. Co? Martin za smrtvě napisal Kachinsta. Takže GTA RP by ti šlo, to bych bez zničil RP.
Create some pressure, force Navi to redistribute the forces, and there you have it. That's the response. KC get the reaction they want.
No.
Roxic hangs around. Sheriff at his side, and Hero in support. From Dice backside, the smoke now drops. In the front, looking for the fight. It's Roxic that has the first.
Koukám, jak se svléká. Ome, počkej, KC. Oh no!
It's a quad kill that keeps Navi going in the second half of play.
Extrém. Mimochodem, mně se to zaslíbí, že si připadám jako, že přidávám svoji část do knížky. A to tam je i raketa objevování. Si přidám svoji část do knížky, no tak je jasný, že já bych nemohl v životě nic psát, kámo, protože tohle...
Wondering if that hat was going to go flying off Zaish's head again, but for now KC's still in this, but that pistol does put them at odds of this defense, as we've said.
Gotta remember,
dávám svoji část do knížky.
For both sides. Most importantly, this Masters for Navi because of Koala Noob. He's Canadian, he wants to be in Toronto.
So we said a family reunion on home soil, perhaps.
KC už se rozpadají. Millennial a fan. Dokud je to baví, tak já jsem tak dobrý, ne? Dokud se FAU hezky baví a nemá nervy z rankedu, protože nezvládá grindit, tak radši hraje prostě jakoby psaníčka, tak jakoby dokud je šťastný v srdci, to je důležitý FAU. Já ti přeju, ať jsi šťastný.
Trying to be the man, dragging his team to Toronto. The rest of the supporting cast helping him out and doing so. The last two of Martin and Elite try and make something on towards A. Those sonic sensors and sentinel utility to try and get through.
Over there.
Players in place.
No, tohle mi jo, no.
Looking for any kind of out, but every route they walk into is met with trouble. A player picked up by Martin, but that was one of the pistols. KC need to do a little bit more here if it's to make any kind of damage on what will be.
Zatočil sám na sebe, já dneska taky, kámo, zatočil sám na sebe. Tak buď teď nebo nikdy, jako.
Between the two teams at the minute, which KC need to try and cross through the first buy.
This round is absolutely huge and potentially netting Angel his first ever win over SLEDUJ. In terms of the call for this round, it's going to be grouped up with long-standing teammate Shao, the combo of util dumped towards tiles, but
Kotě, vole, co zkoušíš? Proč pro chvíli vypíšeš kotě?
Navi is sticking to the strengths of this comp.
They don't need to fight mid.
Vy spolu máte, more. Aby tu zholí jak kostkama, no FAU by to RPoval jak blázen, FAU je úplně RP jak dělanej prostě.
mid.
Like this placement of the sensor as well from Angel. It's forced SLEDUJ to just face check it, and with that now broken, all picked up. It's further information towards Navi as to what exactly
Extrix útočí brečením na teammate. Real. To je hodně real. Freak. Jo.
They've switched up the sentinels, and KC could be executing into their own doom. It's another utility.
Kámo, oni půjdou do Hira a naštěstí má jenom Spectre. Jo, GTA RP není, no, on má Poetics, Fantasy prostě. Má jenom Spectre, vole. To tě chytlo, za vajca tě to chytlo ty příběhy.
Dead Angel, 2v2 post plant, and Navi look to come out the other side, the better. Elite from short, has to try and fight his way through, doesn't even get a cam, it's just gonna be a defuse, and what a way to finally convert a bonus round, Navi!
Jestli jsou ztracený už.
And those players standing tall on the A site again, Hero gets his one, and Ruxic just hangs on. The amount of sustain he has from these smokes, it's such fundamental play, but executed correctly. Martin with one, you know, everyone on KC doing a little bit of something, but still, Navi, the all-important round result.
And I think as well, this could perhaps be the quickest
timeout
used since the start of a half. Carmine Court, the ones to do it, because they are on the edge of elimination. Resuscitation needed by the support staff.
Saish that steps up right now, it seems. Given opportunities to call for the team, I mean, think back to kickoff a couple years ago now when Eng gave him that experience. You've got to be relying on the players that feel like they can make the right call right now, whoever that is, assistant coach, head coach, anyone in the server who feels like they have the read on what Navi are setting up for.
And I think as well, right, we spoke about how important it is for Navi and Kuala Noob to finally get towards a Masters event, especially in Toronto, where Kuala Noob, I mean, he is Canadian, but for KC, their eyes should be on Paris. They need to get these champions points. And if they lose here, it's a massive chance to win the series out. Gone.
FPČ úplně. KC lost.
So into the next round we look.
ACL, kámo.
SLEDUJ and the rest, enough. Someone who, as we mentioned before, has brought on teams out of bad situations. You look at Loud, mentoring some of that younger talent, the question always being, could he do it without Aspas? Madrid, a sufficeable answer, I think. Martin's been doing brilliantly on the jet. Now he has support behind him. Only Angel here, but getting out of dodge with his own util, and Navi very quickly retaliating.
Yeah, and they've got so much stall potential with what they have, and so KC decide to look elsewhere, but Koala's ready, so is Shao. I think they're actually thinking about moving into main.
This is a huge isolation. It is only Sugetsu here, but his Sheriff now has to have a bigger moment than it has done previously. Asking a bit too much.
Still, Koala Noob has moved in towards B main as KC find a little spot in market to work with. This is just a bait.
Jste doma jak nemocný v tom chatu s těma komandama, Fero někdy Fero. Aspoň se mi hýbe chat, takže spamujte jak chcete, já vás mám pryč. Někdy ne, oni to nespamujou, dokud to nezačne spamovat jeden, pak se chytnou řídit. Hej, pejči.
And so Navi up to an 11th. KC, you know, in some of these eco rounds just really haven't felt all that threatening. There's so much control, but it's not even necessarily coming from the Sentinel players. The setups on
site. Tak dement.
Yeah, it's the setups on site, but again, it's also how comfortable and the understanding that the full Navi roster has in terms of They know when they can move into mains. They know when there's a step too far. And I don't think they've necessarily put a foot wrong since they've moved on to the defense. Well, we know that because they've won every round on this second half.
This is the most important of the lot though, Cairo. Win here, it's 12, and very well, a series taken.
That buy won't look great either for KC if they lose this.
Very early knife though, important just to detail that Angel has been spotted towards short. So from what KC have collected info already,
Na kameru kontakt flash, to je úplně insane.
Before, though. Cam contact for a koala flash, it's an elite lurk. He is solo in this endeavor.
Big 1 versus 1 that could potentially be one out. The poke and prod on the A side has been one out by Navi because they've got the A main space.
Elite may very well just step into this, but slow in the approach. KC creep closer towards the B site. It's a drone to round the corner, it's broken, and this is the play. Koala taking it into his own hands, just one.
Yeah, that's all it is going to be, but the setup from the side was good. Can't capitalise, and now it's Hero at the back of sight. He's been spammed out, they know where he is.
Nice.
He responded to the bullet sent his way.
Dobrý, aspoň jedno, ty vole, aspoň to není úplně over. Kdyby tady, kdyby prohráli, tak další kolo Eko a jsou v píči, no.
Feeling like Angel's going to be coming up with the goods here though. KC, slow approach, all circling back to his position at the start of the round. And that's how you have to play some of these defenses.
Já jsem si prostě zaplatil 4 chatery, co mi normálně spamují komandy v chatu, se mi to hýbalo, no. Ne, view botel, chat boty jsem si měl zaplatit. Nic neplatíš. Tebe platím tím, že tady z každý stream a ty máš se dívat. Co to, abys byl v depresích a na nic se nedíval. Taky tě mám rád.
They found a way to win out, right? But I also feel as if there was some mistakes from Navi there. They had a good read on what they wanted to do. Koala unlucky not to get to and get traded out.
Pošlete můj stream poslednímu kámošovi, nebo kámošce mi to jedno, se kterým jste si psali, ať přijde se dívat. Já to za chvíli vypnu. Kdo přivede nejvíc lidí, vyhraje něco. Kdo mi přivede stále jich 10 viewerů, ty budou na každý stream, vyhraje gifted sub. A VIP.
Ever evasive, but look at Ruxic. He wants to
keep on
going. Just the one kill that he picks up.
Bad, but
putting their foot down 50 seconds or less. KC need to make a move, and in terms of space taken and utility dealt with, there is not much at all.
This is big.
Alva's just gonna rip the ult. It's a hit and hope, so to B they go.
Yeah, but you see that, it takes all the Sentinel utility offline, and Hero's here by himself. He has no support.
Still creeping closer to the site, taking their time. Hero to take that first fight onto Elite, and that really opens things up.
Ještě, že ten Martin skočil, ty vole, já už jsem viděl, že má 2 ten Hero.
This one feeling a lot more likely,
and has the Gravnet. One off his ulti.
Stop the swing from at least one of those players, and it's Sugetsu dead in his tracks. To the corner, he will remain. Peeking back through though, Aves by his side.
Děda si tam sedne, vole, do prostředku na openu, vole, pustit spray. Tak jakoby ten nedá ani piču.
It's a really defining scoreline for a comeback. It's one where it's totally within touching distance, and especially when you look at economy, ultimates there.
It's another time where Martin just goes flying round the corner, jumping in. But as we do go round by round, you've got to make those decisions. It is getting pretty stressful, and so Navi are heading into a timeout of their own. But it's, you know, another 60 seconds for KC, which they wouldn't have otherwise. They've already used both timeouts. We're not going to be getting any more unless we go to OT.
And that's it. Boxing gloves off after this. It's going to be bare knuckle, no introduction of the coaches from here on forth. And it's what SaDaK was talking about and what he wanted. It's all about who can call on the fly, who's going to be better in these scenarios for however many rounds that we have left in this series. I have to remind everyone of the stakes. Whoever loses this is out.
Not only out, but without a single win in the playoff stage either, which feels so different to at least maybe picking up one win and going up against some formidable opponents that we still have left in the bracket. Let me reiterate, it's 3 wins to take you to that top 3 from this position. Navi coming into the next round with plenty of odds. But the one that I'm looking at, and the player I'm looking at still for KC, remains to be Martin. He headed into this series 2nd globally for KD, just shy of 1.4. But it's the space making more than anything else, which is the biggest asset to KC right now against this Navi defense.
Playing with the pace.
Čtyři jsou nekonečný, kámo. 14, 12, 11, 13, teď to bude vele zase, 13, 11. Dupnus, bro. Počet, no.
Just waiting for some information, and as this A site has both the sensors and the traps, the Cypher, the Deadlock, you know at least one of them now through the Owl drone. When we've seen KC pressure market before though, it's just been a means to an end. They've not often executed, and you can see with the position here of Sugetsu still hanging around in A main, there's definitely a view to take this one back into the stack.
V kolik dohrajou tu druhou hru? V 10. Vůbec nezahrajou dneska, kurva. Jeblí na tý EMA fakt. Nemůžou to jít hrát už třeba ve 4. A mít, vole, B1. Tu sonerbo. Dneska nebudou ranked, no píčo, možná tak 2. Ty pro snack rychle BRB, go, taky bych si dal nějaký snack. Jsem před chvíli tady sněd celý BBčka, zase bych něco sněd.
For this smoke to expire, but it's time instead. Those final grains dropping to the bottom of the hourglass, and that's where Martin starts to reveal his position. Buys a little more time because, well, I tell you what, KC are going
Kámo, co se tam děje, vole?
And stepping in, Martin, maybe a moment too late. It's gone all the way through. Martin will die after time, but it's up as far as KC are concerned. No way, he lived. He actually lived that. The cocoon didn't fully go off, but the point still stands. Navi have map point and 5 rounds remains to be the gap.
Ty máš diváka ode mě, dík, tak ať tady na každém streamu. Dík, Alex. Dík,
into the next round in the lower bracket and survive. Just one match longer for KC, an underwhelming finish to their stage 1. A massive round to try and deal with. A set play doesn't get the value that they're looking for. Martin noted by the Cypher cam.
Again, raising an issue for Navi to deal with. As soon as they take mid, Navi are dropping back that defensive line into Boathouse, but this time their support. The mesh is there and so's the sensor. Martin still with blades and an updraft. He fires himself over the top of Switch, but it's only going one way for now in the feed. Shao gets his 2. Can Angel find 2 more?
Ty vole, Angel má jedno, on zabije Martina.
Look at how low SaDaK is. He at least has one info dart to try and know anybody. He'll get the information he needs, but how long is he going to be able to survive?
going through lane, flash behind it. SLEDUJ just hiding underneath the rail right now as the lane walk-up comes through from Koala. Elite, the healthy player. We have to depend upon him again. KC, the blue wall could crumble under the
Ty
pressure of
vole.
Navi
No,
as they're putting it
Elite,
on.
Turek, zachránil Turek.
At least that first player, but he has to go big where the rest of his team couldn't.
Zachránil Turek na Cypherovi.
Move on in their stead. For KC, stage 1 hopes and dreams. Elite will continue where the rest could not. That's number 8. But how many more do we need?
I mean, we talk about CPR, resuscitation. That was a defibrillator. Electricity coursing through the veins of Elite to keep KC alive. Navi now. What's the response? I mean, you look at the eco. This is where you would do something crazy on the defense.
With 4 rounds left
Jestli
here,
vyhraje case, tak pošlu 100 kč.
Navi
Ok.
very likely sent back onto an eco at least
Deal.
one more time before this map is done, and that being the one rifle in the hands of Koala already cut away, loose from the round. Angel picking it back up, but still.
A jestli to vyhraju Navi, tak pošleš 200.
Navi, please do not use your result.
Jsem si písknul, sorry.
Okay, well they can't hear you, mate, so we'll have to see if they go for it or not.
Still have that Guardian though. That's a big point to talk about because that's a bit of firepower.
And it's this stall as well into the late round, which makes things all the more concerning. Xiao maybe even thinking about using the ult here, just purely based on the positioning of these players. Looks like he might just send it in, and oh, your wish will not be granted. Navi want to win it here and now. Xiao still on the site with the gun in hand, and those reinforcements just can't arrive soon enough. Shot down where they stand. KC will
Ukvapený ultený.
we go again without a Navi ultimate.
Question is it a fake ultimate? Is it the real deal? Hero just trying not to give much away here.
It's crazy too with the amount of points that requires to get up. I feel like so many times we've seen not just any old run-of-the-mill ultimate, not just your neural theft.
Yeah, like
sorry, Bear. You know, from the shadows, but like some really big round-defining ults are being just thrown into the fire.
Quite literally, mate. Like you're sitting there and you're like, listen, guy. It's like the Mourinho story with the Balotelli one, right? Like, listen, do not get a yellow card. Do not use your ultimate. Angel, please do not use your ultimate. And then you come into the next round and they just send it, and you're like, oh goodness gracious.
If you can find a way to pull it off, you look like a genius. But right now, I think.
Thank you.
On the receiving end more often than not.
But like you speak about, right, I know everyone speaks about like percentage plays and the numbers and let's crunch them, pushing up the glasses as Bren likes to say, but in these moments when it is literally playoff life on the line, I think the percentage play is what you opt for.
Absolutely. If there's one takeaway I take from this series is how NA pilled you are, but heading into this one,
they're from the UK.
That's
Yuki? I'm from the UK.
It's Koala that starts things off. Xiao
GG.
next. Could this be the round for Navi? Sui has responded. There's still a player advantage with the defense, and they have util to fall back on both sides.
That they do.
And even the setup here for Navi, you look at it, it's Sentinel players on either side of the map, so even if Aves had gone far, straight in with their ultimate,
GG.
they were prepared for it.
Thank you.
A lot of thought put into this, but now KC are on a plan B.
Máš taky? Let's go.
Towards a look at the utility set up for Hero. Cypher cam for contact. Sonic sensors round about him to create a support network, and he's calling to his team. I've seen players on my cam. They're in shot. Where does KC go here? There's a gap in towards tree, and that's exactly where they find to opt to go.
The question is, are they overcooking this a little bit too much? Because, as I say, bunkers on both sides for Navi. Less than 30 seconds in the plays through spawn. Ruxic watching over it, but as soon as that...
Jestli domů no, anebo možná ještě ne.
Elite can at least solve it with a kill.
Já jdou do hýra, no tak to je konec.
And look at this, the Omen ultimate used to try and clear out Hero instead. Found by Elite's rifle. His opposite number, the Sonic sensor gives the game away. But look at the deposit in mid. Sugetsu could be massive here.
Hearing the steps, all on Sugetsu, gets the first, and over his former captain, the wool is pulled over his eyes. Elite was just sweating when that sensor went off, hoping that the spike could go down.
On neslyšel. Kam oni nemají sluch a oni neslyší prostě dobře. A už se ví.
All of this heard by Elite. Koala straight into the firing line as KC continue.
I mean, that round was like prime time boxing, dancing round one another. But with that being said, I mean, the most important thing for me in the next round is one, has his null command up and available so they can take and get rid of any sentinel utility that's possibly needed. But the other aspect to it is Navi's buy. They are stricken once again.
So they've read into a double stack.
Ale Navi vyhrajou nějakou úplně píčovinu se šerifama nebo něco. Chápeš? Jaký šerify píčovina nebo prostě nějaký ústřel pak. Nevím. Je Martin mrtvej? Je mi ho líto? A dobrý. No a teď čum. Ty vole. A je to tady. Ticho všichni.
One overtime. I think overtime right here would be just.
Jo.
Both teams have a buy. Both teams have
Text
ultimates which
tady jsem
should
Kohler.
find value. Koala Noob has decided to go for the glass cannon operator. Set play in towards B main hasn't found value, and Koala finds a little gap to.
Tady ten chat je na pro stage. On vypadá jak faul. Jako jo, ale trošku.
Drone comes in, it gets the info, and that's the reinforcement. Angel needing the duel, winning it. Navi
Fake comeback.
This rematch from the first game of kickoff. Looking to go.
Fake comeback.
A second time of asking. Koala Noob in backside, so much support. KC are cornered.
Looks like they are.
You can barely get back past that mesh in main. The setup's over on A.
Tam to vypo na backside, to je v píči.
Question Sadak is trying to answer right now is they wait. Let's see if Navi try and dry peek into the rifles, holding the angle. Remember, there's still 35 seconds to work with here.
This from Ruxic as well, just another spanner in the works, playing around his own smoke and looks to take this fight on the chin, closing in, Navi in position!
GG.
13-11!
Dva fake comebacky mi dali KC právě, chápeš? To je v píči.
That's the question, right? Is how much pressure is this roster under? They brought in Sadak to be the guy to carry the team forwards. I mean, the whole roster was built with the
split more.
On Paris, but closer to home, that's where the sights need to be set now because there is real problems that they need to answer.
To nesem do nic, chat. Já razím, vidíme se nějak večer, ještě zapnu stream, pak je od kolem 10. nějak večer ještě dáme. Buď dám nějaký ranked, nebo dám nějaký kovaky, OK? Vidíme se.